we violated the financial act, international financial act, the Lokuzen code of conduct, because what we do, what is happening currently even in Zimbabwe, when we speak of money laundering, that has always been the case, and the likes of IMF and World Bank have accused Zimbabwe of such and said we are not going to partner or trust. Even other international banks refused to do business with Zimbabwe because of that. And when they turned around, most of these guys that are Zanu PF, they turn around and say, no, no, it's not money laundering, it's sanctions. But sanctions, we all know that they are targeted. And to be frank and to be honest, Zimbabwe is not under sanctions, as people have put it and people have said. Mnangagwa and some few individuals are under sanctions from America. Now they are the only country that has put them under sanctions is only America. The rest of the world is not sanctioned. UK lifted up and EU lifted up their sanctions that were upon the ZANU PF guys. So you'll hear them saying sanctions. Why are they saying sanctions, guys? What made Mugabe cry when sanctions were imposed on them and the political elite? Why did they cry? Because they'd taken money, stole money from Zimbabwe, put it on US logos and accounts. And when they came heavily on them and froze the accounts, they were crying and they wanted the whole country to rally behind thieves that has stolen billions of dollars and put it in offshore accounts. So it's to me, this is a chance and this is the time for Zimbabweans to wake up and smell the coffee and start demanding what is rightfully theirs. I remember I was in a space with Daddy Wopwell, you know, the way he expressed to say how much development this corruption has costed Zimbabwe, how much development has it costed Zimbabwe. We could be having hospitals and we could be having quite a number of things that we are crying about as Zimbabwe. We could be having better infrastructure as a country, but this is how much corruption has costed. Every year, we are losing billions of, of, of dollars. And these billions are supposed to be for road rehabilitations, hospital development, school building, schools, building. And this is not happening because of corruption, and I'm glad that this came in such a time as this, that we are going to see the elite being exposed and the corruption that has rampant Zimbabwe so much that it has caused people. Some of us were crying here and saying, no, Zimbabwe economy is what is down. Guys, 80% of where we are as a nation is not because of sanctions or because of economic meltdown. We are where we are as a nation, now 80% because of corruption of how the government has handled the funds. Yes.
Sorry, Mukoma Jabulo. I want you to stay there. I want you to go and we have a cup of water. I've got some follow-up questions, because if I would have asked you another question now, you could have taken one day. But can you just pack them, Mukoma Jabulo? I want to come back to you with a follow-up question on there. And kuna Dr. Amaifa. I'm not too sure if I'm right with what I've suggested, Mukoma Jabulo.
No, it's fine. It's fine, my brother. Okay. Yes, it's fine. Okay.
Yes, I'm gonna come back to you with a question. Dr. Amaifa, do you have got anything to comment on what Njabulo has just said? And let's afterwards we'll hear from Dr. Ranga.
Thank you very much. I totally agree with Mkoma Njabulo that ZANU PF commits a crime, then forgive themselves, because we have no checks and balances. We have no separation of powers. Everything is mixed up from executive, legislative, judiciary. It's all one thing. So it's a bit tricky there. I'll leave the time to Dr. Ranga, and please, Dr. Ranga, feel free to comment on what people have submitted as you give your own submission. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Maifa. And I want everyone to know I'm just speaking as a Zimbabwean here, as a Zimbabwean citizen, and I think that most of the comments we're hearing here, any right-thinking Zimbabwean citizen will identify with and will think that has said, Mukoma and Wazenzo has said, and many others, I'm sure we will all say the same thing. What tells you that we have a big problem and the people in government realize it is the fact that they have already gone out of their way to try to hedge against what's coming. So you will see Nick Mangwana saying, yes, there's corruption. Yes, there's this. And even ED coming out with a video to try to say, oh, my government is doing this. Corruption is endemic in the country. Well, you are the head of state. You are the last stand. The buck stops with the president. What they are setting us up to accept is that they are going to stay in power, come up with all kinds of excuses, whether it's sanctions busting or any other nonsense that they will come up with to justify staying in power. That's what they're already doing before the documentary comes out. What we should expect as Zimbabwean citizens is that the people who are stealing our public resources using their positions in government should resign, especially those who have been openly exposed. There should be no excuse whatsoever. Vana Charamba, I remember last time we had in PSMAS or PS, the Public Service Medical Aid Society, saying they lost a lot of money. Vana Charamba and others were given 200,000 US dollars and so forth. People are getting away with those kind of, forms of stealing or corruption. But what we should focus on as my citizens is, listen, you guys, you are named in some of this, you are involved in some of this. The bare minimum you can do is just resign. The second thing we expect is return whatever you took. Number three, we should expect that if those people don't do that, they should be fired. And unfortunately, some of these people may have to fire themselves because they are actually involved in some of this stuff. When we put pressure, like we did with the drugs scandal, they would dress it up, but at least the people like the Minister of Health was fired then. So it's not like our voices don't matter. We should not wait for us to act based on the next election, which is 5-6 months away. What we should do now is to demand that whoever is involved in these scandals, which mean a big deal, by the way, because they are mortgaging our futures. They're mortgaging our futures and they are pocketing the money. Meanwhile, they are riddling us with debt, us and our children. So we need that to come to an end. We need to demand whoever is involved, they should probably resign now before it comes out. That's better for them. And when it comes out, nobody should find an excuse to say, oh, I was doing this because of this. Listen, man, you need to go. And we should demand that as citizens. We shouldn't say, vagara vanongoba vanongoita. Say, no, today is different. Okay, they've been doing this since 1980 and they expect to keep doing it. But if we don't speak up, if we don't say we don't want this, we can't accept this, you shouldn't be seeking re-election if you're doing all these kind of things. You should resign now and go home and let the law take its course. That's what I think we should demand as Zimbabwean citizens, not kungota, vanongobata gara tinovaziva. That's why they keep getting away with it. We need to demand accountability from those running the government. Those who are involved, resign. Those who are not resigning, fire them. Those who are also part of the firing, if you are involved, fire yourselves. Otherwise, our last card is to fire them come the next election. This should galvanize us to say the few remnants who will still be there, we get rid of them in the next 5 months. That's what I as a citizen expect, because no pay my taxes, achienda, look at my roads, look at Zipatara, look at Zikoro, look at just electricity, Aguna. Everything is not working, but somehow we're comfortable with these guys running our things. That's not right. And we shouldn't accept any explanation other than that. They should just let go, and so that we can move on. Those are my submissions. I know they seem a little radical, but that's the truth. That's how we need to be thinking about this as citizens. Any normal thinking citizen should be saying the same things, and we should say it loud and clear. No equivocation whatsoever. Thank you.
So, Dr. Ranga, before you go, I've got a question to you.
Sure.
We are just coming from the Nigerian election, and you saw how rampant the rigging was taking place, and how clear everybody can see that the election is being rigged. Now, part of the reason why the regimes would end up rigging is because they would want to stay in power. And the other reason is also because they want to protect what they looted. What have you to say on the possibility of the Zimbabwean government possibility of intending to retain power under under what cost, to say, because of what is going to be exposed, we are going to be making sure that we would going to retain in power? How much do you think this government would want to remain in power?
Well, and by the way, we should not, they are running the government. What we are talking about is the mafia. They said in 2017, they were removing criminals around the president, right? That was the premise for the coup in 2017. However, it's just another mafia group of people now running the government. Of course, they want to be able to continue to abuse state apparatus, including our security apparatus, our financial sector, our minerals and stuff like that, mineral rights and stuff. They are weaponizing all that stuff. And so they have every intent to stay in power until forever, because that's how they will be able to keep looting. And that is why we need to demand accountability today. We demand it today. We demand it on election day. But we know, there is no doubt whatsoever that they will do whatever is necessary to try to stay in power. But look, no matter how many there are always more citizens than there are these people, because Zimbabwe is bigger than any one individual, any one party, any one group of people. So that's why it's very important for us to demand that those who have been fingered in this corruption don't even think about staying in government, number one. You should resign today and don't try to seek re-election. That's just, or to get into government again. Just go to jail instead. That's where you belong. That's how we ought to be thinking about this as citizens. Thank you, my brother Denford. I feel very passionately about this, because sometimes we just let it go. But we have been hearing stories of, there was a story about 2 weeks ago about somebody who had brain surgery in Blawayo, and because electricity went out in the hospital, the nurses, they had to keep ambu-bagging the patient all night long to make sure they get oxygen. And unfortunately, that patient didn't make it because everybody got tired ambu-bagging to try to keep giving this patient oxygen. And that's just unacceptable, because there are so many resources that should be used to build our hospitals, our clinics, our roads, but someone thinks it's okay to keep looting. That's not acceptable. So that's why, I know they intend to stay. I know they will do whatever it takes. And unfortunately, some of us, some of us, I'm sure, are on this space, we are used to prop up that regime, that group of people. And we get a little bit of benefit today, but tomorrow our relatives are suffering the same way. We are suffering the same way. Because when you get into a traffic accident, guess what? You are still going to go to that Parenyatwa hospital or to Mpilo or to Harare hospital. And even if you have all the money in the world, if the hospital is not adequately equipped, and if the doctors and nurses are not adequately remunerated, look, your life is in danger. And that is why all of us need to look beyond these guys. I mean, there's nothing special about Chiwenga or ED or Mugabe. They're just Zimbabwean citizens like all of us. And we don't owe them anything because all of us, we fought in the war of liberation. All of us, we lost relatives during the war of liberation. So there is never a good excuse for them to hold on when they have run the country to the ground. But anyway, my brother Denford, like you can tell, I'll go on and on. But look, we feel strongly about this. You fail, you go. You fail, you go. That's what public office is about. It's about service and sacrifice. It's not about benefiting yourself and your family and your friends. It's about providing service, making Zimbabwe better, making our hospitals better, making our roads better. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ranga, for your submission. And I think I can summarize to say, you are saying these people are determined to stay, loot, and keep destroying the country. And we, the citizens, should also be determined to get rid of them or to replace them. So I just want to encourage everybody here on this platform to have the same determination that the enemy has. We want to succeed. We want restoration for Zimbabwe. So if we are all determined and we are serious about it, it will happen. Over to you, host.
Yes, thank you very much. I know Mkoma Ndaba Muragenda Uchechi, but Ndambupaka Mkoma Njabulo, I have got a question to him, then I will come back to you, Mkoma Ndaba. Mkoma Njabulo, I would want you to finish what you're presenting on, but on your finishing, I would want you to work on this to say, when you look at these people like Zanu, anoita zvemari dzakawanda chaizvo, but he could be benefiting from the government's tenders. What's his name? Dr. Maifa. Okay. Yes, Tagwire. When you look at that person, I've just heard from a number of people who say, when you say Zimbabweans are poor, you are mistaken, because they come and look at our people who benefited from the indigenization policies that were brought about by the government, and they mentioned the people like Tagwire. When you look at that person, would you go to your son and say, I would want you to look at this person, and this is supposed to be the role model for you and every Zimbabwean? Go ahead with your submission and maybe end with that question.
Okay, thank you once again, and thank you to the other speakers that have shared quite deep and provocative thoughts. One of the things, Comrade Denford, that we as Zimbabweans, we shouldn't lie, or we shouldn't even be. What was the indigenization that we are talking about? Because at the end of the day, if we don't answer that question, in us standing as a country and say, no, Denford benefited from indigenization, what does that mean? At the end of the day, because most of the people that we look at and say these ones really made it. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to a company like Zisco Steel. Why did it go broke? It was the Chiwengas. When we're talking of indigenization, they jumped in and they controlled the majority of the share. The company went on its knees. You speak of, we had a company in Bulawayo that was called D&G Shoes. They came in there, the likes of Obet Mpofu, and they claim indigenization on that company. And today that company is no more. So when you look at the likes of Tagwirei, remember that we chased away majority of the oil companies that were run, and those tenders they were given to the likes of Tagwirei to say, can you supply the country with oil? So automatically it made him wealthy because he was being paid. It's the same with the likes of Whitnell during Gabe's era. You cannot say these are the people that benefited. Those were people that through corruption the government was using so that they can benefit both ways. The guy and the government and the government officials could benefit, because if indigenization was empowering everyone, Zimbabwe shouldn't be in the state that it is in today. You cannot tell me, if you are a teacher today, you call yourself you are the best teacher, when 90% or 98% of your students have failed and you only have two students that passed, and you say, no, you know what, I'm a good teacher, 2% of my students passed, and you continuously see that you are only coming out with 2% out of 100. You should wake up and smell the coffee. Why is it 80% of Zimbabweans are walloping, they are living in poverty, and you say, no, a lot of people who have done these policies and we feel a lot of people have benefited? Which people have benefited? We already have, right now in Zimbabwe, some of you that don't know the statistics, 35% of Zimbabwe, they are the people that have access to electricity and running water. 65% of the people in Zimbabwe, they don't have access to running water, they don't have access to electricity. So you should be asking yourself, what has indigenization benefited? Has it established, has it built any infrastructure? When we say no, the indigenization, the indigenous people benefited, where is the money going? When you look at Tagwirei, we only know that he only had money on paper, but is there things that we can look into and say as a country, you know what, Tagwirei has money, this is what we have benefited as a country, and this is what he has been doing for the country. These are some of the questions that we should be asking ourselves and looking deep into. And also going back to the issue that I was raising, to say, I would just want to throw a solution maybe to us as Zimbabweans. One of the greatest challenges that we have done as a country is that we have esteemed politicians and political parties above ourselves as the citizens. And I'm not only talking to say to us, maybe, but I'm talking to, when you look at the landscape and the environment in Zimbabwe, that for a certain extent, we don't address the issues that addressed because so and so is in charge. Why am I saying this? You'll discover that even with this level of corruption that is being unraveled by different people, by different organizations. Let's remember, Wopwell was arrested for exposing corruption that was committed by, was it Henrietta Rushai? And he was arrested not because what he was saying was wrong. It was because who he was exposing. Because once you expose Mnangagwa's niece, you know that Mnangagwa's hand is also there in the same cookie jar that is being exposed. So this has been the norm in Zimbabwe, that crime is only committed by those that are not in that political party. If you were found or you are caught carrying the same amount of gold like Henrietta Rushai, I'm telling you today, you'll be walloping in jail. You'll be somewhere else. But it was committed by someone who's in Zanu PF. So there is forgiveness, there is immunity automatically. So we as Zimbabweans, we need to start setting the standard. We need to start not accepting certain things and certain elements that are affecting the country. We cannot allow corrupt politicians to continuously run for office or be in office. That should be, it doesn't matter which political party they belong to. There should be an uprising to say, we cannot allow this. And this should go to every Zimbabwean. Because imagine this Commandant Ford. If someone is corrupt, they have stolen 2 million. That 2 million, imagine if it was taken, how many schools were going to be built in Zimbabwe? How many hospitals could have been built, or how many roads could have been developed in our time? We are where we are because we have allowed corrupt politicians to continue to be in office. And if we could have dealt with corrupt politicians way in the 80s, Zimbabwe wouldn't be in the state where it is today. Zimbabwe would be a heaven for everyone. Everyone will be running towards Zimbabwe, not from Zimbabwe. We are where we are because we have allowed corrupt and unruly politicians to continuously be in office. I think we need to wake up as Zimbabweans and start addressing these issues on a serious and on a more drastic and on a more radical level than that we've been doing. If it needs people to be in the streets, people need to be in the streets to address these corrupt issues. It's not only Aljazeera that today we are waking up and say, Al Jazeera has exposed Zanu PF. We have always known. Hopewell exposed it. Other guys have also come up and exposed these things. And we as a nation, we have kept quiet and we have sat in our corner and waited for something automatically to happen when we know that nothing is going to happen because the corrupt people are in the hem of leadership. So we need to address these issues. For now, let me leave it here. Thank you so much, Comrade Denford and Dr. Amal, for the opportunity to share my thoughts.
Thank you, Mkomanda Vulo. Because of Mkomanda having a commitment, I will give this time to Mkomanda, and I kindly ask the rest of us to request for the mic and give your contribution so that we solve this problem. Thank you. Mkomanda.
Thank you, Dr. Maifa. I will be brief. Our situation is funny, though sad at the same time. We've been asking for reforms, electoral reforms, for some time. But the last time I checked, there were no reforms. Instead, they wanted to amend a certain clause in the Constitution. That clause, the way I see it, was targeted to the opposition, where they said anyone suspected to have committed a crime, be it they have been convicted or not, shouldn't stand for office. Now here we are. The entire Zanu PF, which I might call thugs for ED, are implicated in this documentary. Are we going to see them standing for office, since they have made it law that anyone suspected to have committed a crime mustn't stand for office? That's the question I want to leave with you. But in a functioning democracy, I think they should be barred from standing for office. Even E.T. himself will be stopped from standing for office, because this documentary, I'm pretty sure it touches on him too. We want to see that law being implemented. If Ndebele Ntina City Ingulube is pheka ngamafutha ayo, they promulgated this law to punish the opposition, particularly Job Scala, who hasn't been tried. I think they wanted to bar him from contesting. That's why they changed that clause. Let's push for that law to be used, applied as soon as we can, and see what happens. Of course, we know they control everything, but if we amplify our voices, they will hear that we are disgusted. Professor Lumumba wasn't lying that in countries like China and some other countries that don't tolerate corruption, no one stands for office when they are caught wanting. But in Zimbabwe, it's unfortunate that those people stand and they are elected for office. So it's high time we say enough is enough. I'll borrow Zeti's approach that we need civil disobedience. We are on our own. We don't have any rule of law that will help us. We are law unto ourselves. So let's use that opportunity and speak louder as ever before for this to come to an end. Thank you, my Dr. Amaifa. I don't have enough time to contribute today, but I'll keep on listening. Thank you.
Ya maita basa mukoma ndaba ende pamurikuenda kukereke munotirangarirawo mukurangarira nyika yedu kuti ndo zvainosangana nazvo tinamatirei. So this, thank you very much for your submissions. One thing that I have noted is, and everybody could have noted, is this documentary could have been out by the 2nd of March. I'm not too sure, maybe someone is going to enlighten me on the reason why it could not come out. I know some people have got knowledge about it. And speculation is it that the government of Zimbabwe implored the Qatari government to make sure that it doesn't, to be given a chance to reply, if I'm not mistaken. That's what I got. And also, this issue that Mkoma Njabulo has highlighted, especially to what has been alleged to have been said by the spokesperson for Zanu PF, saying that all those people with satellite dishes, foreign channels, and if they insist doing that, then they are going to be, they're actually unpatriotic Zimbabweans. So when you hear somebody from the regime saying that patriotism is measured by someone really choosing to diversify the news that they are supposed to watch, then something is wrong within our country. And when we go on to say this documentary was actually, I was giving parallels for those who came earlier to what really transpired in Namibia. To say the presidential lawyer was involved in the fisheries corruption that took place in Namibia. The Minister of Justice was involved. The Minister of Fisheries was involved. People from the corporate world were involved. Meaning to say corruption was so rampant or is rampant in Namibia and then most other African countries. Luckily, unfortunately for Namibia, it seems not all state institutions are captured. And it also seems that some people within or even the government officials in Namibia, they still have their conscience, because both the Minister of Fisheries and the Minister of Justice, once they realized that they were caught, then they actually attended their resignation letters. and they were ultimately arrested. These are some of the things that we would want to say as we answer the question to say, are Zimbabweans are shocked by the events? And do we have leadership that has got conscience to say this is what, even this mere allegation could have actually given them shivery waves. But unfortunately, we've got people who actually go and make a comparison of the corruption that is alleged to have been done by America and the Western world when they went to Iraq, when they went to Libya, and that we are justified by also would have done that because they also did that. Meaning to say Zimbabwe has got to take the Western world, America as the benchmark of how governance has got to happen. I'm worried about Zimbabweans who take their country so low like that. But I don't know. Let me leave this to Dr. Amaifa if she has got any other comment to talk about, in particular about what is likely going to happen once this documentary is actually gotten into the Zimbabwean populace. I come to you, Dr. Amaifa.
Thank you, Koma Denford. Before I respond, I'm seeing requests to speak, but when I try to approve, I never see anybody getting approved. So please help me, host, to approve those people, because I think my phone is just drunk. Thank you, Koma Denford, for what you said. What I want to say has already been said, because we said this new government said they wanted to remove the criminals, the petty criminals that were around Mugabe. But what they didn't put in black and white is that they would replace them with seasoned criminals. Yes, they removed petty criminals around Mugabe and put their own who major in that area. Now, as Zimbabweans, when this documentary is eventually published, it should really give us evidence of things that we have been suspecting. We knew, but we didn't have evidence. Now that we have evidence in our hands, it should motivate us to want to reform, to want to restore Zimbabwe and change things. So using that documentary evidence, let's convince ourselves, our families, and everybody else in Zimbabwe that things have to change. And like Dr. Ranga has said, if we had rule of law, the people mentioned or caught red-handed in that documentary should resign. But we know that our friend, or not really our friend, our ruling party will always find a way of shielding those people. Because I'll give you an example of yesterday. I think there was an official opening of a clinic or health center in Masvingo, and the Triple C mayor and councillors boycotted because Kembo Mohadi was made the main guest, which shows that although he was said to have been removed as vice president, he still carries the same power, and who knows, he still could be on the payroll. It's just to appease the masses. So if somebody is removed, let them be removed. I will yield this time to Mkoma Champion. I might have missed the order there, but I think it's Mkoma Champion. Thank you. Over to you, Mkoma Champion.
Mkoma Champion, your mic.
Hello,
Okay.
hello everyone. Muri kundinzwa here? Kana kuti noise yacho haisi kuita. Hello, do you hear me?
We can hear you. Mkoma Champion, go ahead.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. You know, when we have got this topic, come to your mind? What has come to our minds actually? It's not supposed to be one person, it's supposed to be all Zimbabweans who are supposed to be thinking what needs to be done, what needs to be known. But what is important there is to look to say what constitutes the current ZANU-PF. I think that's question number one that must be answered, because ZANU-PF that we know, it's now maybe it's ghost. The one that is existing right now is a ghost of the real ZANU-PF. Why is it a ghost of real ZANU-PF? You look at the mission statement that these guys have got. The mission statement, remember, it's a statement that explains why an organization exists. And ask yourself as well, or let me ask myself, what is the mission statement of the real ZANU-PF that was there? It was about liberation of the country, having an egalitarian approach to governance where people are going to be equal, where people are going to exercise voting without intimidation, without violence. But now, go to the mission statement of these revolutionary criminals who are masquerading as ZANU-PF. While we all know that the real ZANU-PF is dead, we all know that the real criminals, their mission is to loot Zimbabwe and enrich themselves, having empires. And these empires, they want a succession whereby people like the family members becomes military generals, in the sense that they have to massage and smoothen the transition from one generation to another. This is all about wealth accumulation. That's why I'm saying the real ZANU-PF is dead. The one that we have right now is a revolutionary criminal clique that is meant to enrich itself with the resources that Zimbabwe has got. They don't care about who is who. And go and also look at their core values, the way how they behave. Whenever you have got information, what do they think? They want to kidnap you and kill you. If you would at some point look to say what is happening right now to some journalists are even to be said they are behind this documentary revelation, this documentary expose. Why? Because they have been perceived to be enemies of the state. They've been perceived to be critics. So this is where, and this is how to take it in real, because we all know that ZANU-PF is dead. But this behavior did not start in 2023. The behavior started in 1980 with the Willowgate scandals. And if you go from scandal to scandal until 2023, you would know that nothing was invested in the country. It is only invested in Dubai. Even if you go to the cartel report, which is on Daily Maverick, you would find that the people who are always called the real are the ones who are looting gold, are the ones who are part of Queen B. Go back again to Daily Maverick and look at to say, who are those people who who even funded election in 2008 when Mugabe lost to Tsvangirai? You would find people like Billy Rottenberg. There are many more who are there. So this is the time for Zimbabweans to really come to a point where they say what has been done is what is treasonous to talk about, because it undermines the national security. If you don't have food in your country, if you don't have medication, it is a threat to the national security. This is where we all have now to come together, including those who were called the fake Vene, and even the social media macho. You have to come together because some of them were even being used and working for nothing. They were not even being paid. Now it is their time to come to the party and converse with everyone and say, guys, we need the real liberation, not this one. This was not liberation. These guys are just using liberation credentials and liberation statements to confuse you, to confuse the nation, to spread propaganda. While we all know that the real ZANU-PF is dead. This is now just a criminal mafia that is meant to. And if we go back to the DRC, we all know what happened. We all know people who were fingered in. Go back to what is happening. Who is behind ZDI given license to export lithium for free? And that money does not even go back to the fiscus. And you in 2022 you had this announcement. That is so funny. No, we no longer need companies to pay their royalties in terms of money, but we need them to pay royalties in terms of mineral produce. You are now paying tribute. Now ZANU-PF becomes a king. They are now being given tribute for mining in your country, and these are national resources. They are not personal. If you go back to, I forgot the name of the person who is an environmental whistleblower who was talking about the mining in Wange National Park. Go back to the time between 2009 to 2007 when some of the endangered species of animals were being sold to China. Who was selling them? And why? So you would come to a point where you know that these people are looting everything. They don't care about you, don't care about me. What is important for them is as long as they can loot, as long as they can survive and make sure that Zimbabwe or Zimbabweans do not have anything, they don't care about that. They only care about who is doing what in terms of looting. So this is the time where everyone has now to say, I understand the mission of the criminal clique that is being named ZANU-PF. But this is not a true reflection of the ZANU-PF that was part of the liberation struggle. Because the ZANU-PF that was part of the liberation struggle had its own mission and its core values, which are now different from this clique. So this is the time for everyone. If this is not luring you closer to national consensus, then there is a problem. There is something that is happening in you. There is something that is happening in me. I should be now in a position where I think to say, you know what, let's have a consensus space where we talk about it. So what can we do? Because by the end of the day, look at your age, look at your age. You are now 35, 40. Some people have known ATMs. Not only for them being decoration on a building, but they have known for dispensing cash. But in your country, there is none. Because the money and the financial system have been looted. There is nothing that can replace this. The true reflection of what a Zimbabwean mean is whereby you are defined by unity, defined by common goals, coming together and reclaim what belongs to you. And the only way to do that is to make sure that you remove some fake Bene, a Chinese Bene, because they are not real Bene. They are just agents. They are not even principals, because you are the principals.
So
the real
Mukoma
ones.
champion, sorry.
Who, by the end of the
to-
day, when you vote, you give someone a mandate to lead you and to work in the best interest of you. Are they working in the best interest of you? The answer is no. Why are they not working the best interest of you? Because themselves as well, they are also stealing from their own principle. So it's your time to now say to yourself, this is what compels me to have unity with a group of people who are canvassing for the better, who are aiming to change the narrative of leadership of our country. It's not only about me, it's not only about you. So up to now, I think some of the things that we know about being talked about patriotism, they no longer make sense anymore. Because all these guys, they don't love our country. They only love to loot. So that's my submission. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you very much, Mukoma champion. We appreciate and your passion actually reflect how determined you are to make sure that things come right in our country. But I want to come to the native, and you are going to be giving your submission. After that, I would want you to delve on the possibility of the monies that are coming from such lootings, them being used for their political campaigns. Recently, we have just realized that in as much as these guys are complaining that sanctions are crippling their day-to-day operations within the country, they don't have the currency, and that is the excuse why things are not all right in the country. But if you look at their campaigns, regalia, the vehicles that they have, and the money that they use during their campaigns, you actually realize that there is a source where they could get their monies from. So would you also think that some of these monies could be used for their campaigns in order for them to retain power? Go ahead, the native.
Oh, thank you. I have a bit of a cold, so my voice is kind of... So I hope you can hear me. So I think we need to look at Zanu PF for what it is, a mafia, really. So my submission will kind of touch on your question there, Mr. Host. So everything that Zanu PF does, or what Zanu PF has done over the past 5 years, especially, is geared towards power retention. You know, it's geared towards power retention. You support us and we give you certain concessions, right? Look at every interaction that the Zanu PF has done, like with the ordinary people. You know, it's always something. You know, you support us, we give you something. The apostolate for ED. You know, you support us, you know, and we give you concessions. You know, we turn a blind eye on your child marriages and your illegal stuff that you're doing. You know, if you are a business person, if you are a Henrietta Rushwire, you support us. We turn a blind eye on your you know, gold smuggling. If you are so all these groups that are formed, you know, these are a reflection of that kind of system. ED, this for ED, that for ED, because that's the system that they have created. It's all transactional. It's all, you know, we do this and we turn a blind eye. It has come to a point where even ordinary people, you know, are here. If you drive around with Zanu PF paraphernalia on your dashboard or something like that, you are not stopped by the police. You know, they let you go. You know, if they see that you have a Zanu PF card, or you know, this is the system that we have. So when the documentary comes, we shouldn't expect anyone to be arrested, or they're not going to arrest themselves. They're not going to put themselves behind bars. That's not going to happen. The solution here, I think, for Zimbabwe, is for everything that's happening, is going to be a political solution. Everything is going to be political. You know, we really need real, proper, rough, you know, political action. You know, just imagine if Zimbabwe had more people or groups like Pachelu, for example, with all their scientific, research and everything there. That's political. How Daddy Hopewell brings all these kind of issues. Just imagine if we have a concerted group or section of the citizenry putting their effort towards, putting bringing all these issues up, and conscientizing other people. We will have. My fear now is that Zimbabweans are not. We are not united enough. We are still disjointed. We have one person over there with their ideas, and the other person. And there's no power in that. There is power in really coming together and really working towards, building a Zimbabwe that we want. And I hear something. I'm going to say this. I said this last week. I hear people say, "Oh, well, we need to talk to ZANU-PF and see where we can come, how we can come up with a solution." ZANU-PF is not going to talk to you now. You don't have any bargaining chips. They don't have any reason to listen to you. You don't have power. They do have the power. They can. You can talk for years, and they will keep doing what they're doing. The only reason that they will talk to you, start listening to you, is when they feel like they are losing that power. Right now, they don't feel it because they control the electoral system, they control the justice system, they control everything. So until they feel that they're sort of their power is slipping away, that's when they will start listening. And for now, really, we are still far away from that. We need to push. Just imagine if we have 5 Daddy Hops, people like Hopo, 10, 15, 20, 100 people like Daddy Hop pushing these issues, not only in Zimbabwe, but outside of Zimbabwe, to highlight these issues, so that even Ramaphosa feels uncomfortable to say ZANU-PF is do this, because these governments can say, Ramaphosa can say ZANU-PF and sanctions, because that's the narrative that's coming out of the country. That's the dominant narrative that's coming out of Zimbabwe. That sanctions this, sanctions that. When the dominant narrative coming out of Zimbabwe is that ZANU-PF is bad, Ramaphosa is going to feel the pressure also. He's going to start supporting that. So and so far there isn't a strong, united, effort, to bring really these issues. So that's my submission. Thank you.
Sorry, the native, before you go. I also have got a follow-up question on you, especially as you mentioned, President Ramaphosa. We have heard this Aljazeera investigation that took place from 2019 to just recently. In Namibia, like I said before, and in Zimbabwe. We are not too sure of any other Southern African countries. And I suppose if they would do, or any other body would go there and do the investigations, there's a high possibility of them actually coming to a conclusion that there's rampant corruption within those countries. Would you suggest that the reason why Zimbabwe, despite its known human rights violations and the rigging of elections, is still retaining so much of respect and support from the neighboring countries, and that is why they would want to make it stay in power, because they also are doing the same project within their countries?
Well, possibly yes, but it's a matter of politics here. Ramaphosa, I mean, if we want Ramaphosa to say anything else, anything different, we have to put him in a position where he feels also as a politician that this is not This is going to put him in a difficult position. As for now, what's comfortable for him is saying that it's sanctions and everything else. It's comfortable. He doesn't, he doesn't lose anything out of that, But if all these issues of human rights abuses, of all these issues of corruption are really put out there, so that even the ordinary South African understands that this is what's happening in Zimbabwe. This is why Zimbabweans are here. And if the ordinary South African understands that and says, you, Ramaphosa, you are supporting that, this is, that's when he will start, talking. But now, the ordinary South African, if you really listen to the South Africans, they always ask, what's happening in Zimbabwe? Why don't you go and fight? They really don't understand what's going on there. They have no understanding, So, yeah. So it can be anything, really. The reason it could be what you just explained, and it could be, but I think that the political aspect, the political side of things, we really need to speak with one voice and say, this is what's happening, to really articulate this, not to just say, oh, Zanu PF, to really make it clear for the ordinary people out there, ordinary South Africans, Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Native, for your submission. I totally agree with you that as Zimbabweans, we are not united. And actually, we see issues from different perspectives. Uyu ari kutoda kumhanyisa chake, kutsvaga popularity, uyu ari kumhanyisa chake. Like right now, looking at the state of Zimbabwe, notowana vamwe vachimhanya kufacebook uko vachinototaura zvavo zvimwe zvisina musoro, zvinongonakidza for 5 minutes, vamwe vachimhanya kunovhura imwe space inotonzi haina focus, imwe inonzi ine focus, imwe yakadai. We are not united. If we were united, show out to what's our main problem now, how do we tackle it? I think it would have been better. And also, like you rightly point out, other countries do not understand what we are going through or the actual problem in Zimbabwe. Just like the majority of Zimbabwe are also brainwashed, they don't understand what's really going on, why they are in poverty, why they are having issues. That's why they are being bussed from Chikombedzi there to Gweru, Mkoba, Noita demonstration, sanction, Maimba, no food, no return transport. You don't even know why you are going there. So if the people in Zimbabwe itself do not understand what their problem is or the causes of their problem, we cannot expect South Africans, Zambians, or Mozambicans to really understand the actual problem that we are facing as a country. And even as Zimbabweans, we don't understand our problems, despite the fact that we are schooled. We went to school, but that school is useless because my opposition members akatora ma corrupt ID documents in diaspora. So diaspora is filled with opposition members only. It's filled with Zimbabweans because we are all suffering. I could talk and vent, but let me yield this time to Knife. Knife, as you give your submission, you are free to respond to the previous speakers, Mkoma Champion and Mkoma Native, and also give us the way forward when this documentary comes out. Twitter say, how is it going to help us move forward? Thank you.
Good morning, Zimbabwe. Man, I'm not really going to go against anything that was said. I think it's just a matter of scoping, zeroing in to the initial problem, the main problem, because we can't keep thinking that the same method is going to keep working after 45 years. You really, 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 deep down in your heart, I think even the honest supporters of CCC, this is just like a band-aid that you feel you have something to oppose and you're taking part in it. But deep down in your heart, you know you're not going to go anywhere. We know this. We see it happening all over Africa. We are part of a company. This country, which we call Zimbabwe, is a company. Southern Africa is a company. Is a company with people who own and manage and run and push the buttons. When we got independence, we did not win the war in the bushes. My father was in the war. My father was in the war. My father is one of the founders of ZAPU. William Knife, you look him up, you'll find my William Knife. A lot of colored people were part of ZAPU. ZAPU was an inclusive party. They were Indians. Shangadia, you know the Shangadias all over, they got businesses. Those were the founders of ZAPU, right? So when we look at the kind of independence we received, was not winning a bush war. Kunyepa, apana munu in Zimbabwe who won the war in the bush. Our independence came on an agreement, piece of paper called the Lancaster House Agreement. That agreement still kept the ties of our company owners. They found company managers who could manage their company. It's the same thing going on in Nigeria today. It's a company. The whole of French Africa is one single company of 14 countries are under one company run by the French. You look at them right now. They tried to expel the French last week, and the French are shaking hands with them, and they're going to sit down again. This is the problem we need to find to fight. This whole bullshit about this agreement of independence is the same pattern for the whole continent of Africa. They gave us the conditions on how to be free. We're not going to go anywhere. We keep pointing fingers and poking each other's eyes. Oh, Mdevere, Mshona, hey, we will do this for generations. A lot of people on here, you're scared to die. That's the problem. That's the biggest problem is that all of you on here are scared to die. You will type, you will set up Twitter pages and Instagrams and say everything, but you're scared to go and take the land. It's the only way we are going to win in Zimbabwe. Right now, they are building the force to stop that revolution. They brought the Wagner war machine. Belarus is Russia. Russia is in Zimbabwe. Russia is mining, and Russia is giving Zimbabwe military assistance. Read about it. Understand when they bringing these aeroplanes of so-called, in quotes, tractors. They are bringing those same weapons to control you. The Zimbabwean government has no money. Those aeroplanes of the Zimbabwean army, the Air Force, I think those aeroplanes can fly for maybe 4 days and the whole army will be broke. They got no gasoline for those fucking aeroplanes. They've got their soldiers are hungry. The soldiers are broke. The soldiers are depressed. They're not going to fight any war. They know they're on the brink of Zimbabwe revolution is coming. So they went to get the guys who are going to keep you guys in check. I've noticed with the on these Twitter spaces, victimize Vanu. There are people who ran away from Zimbabwe because we were getting arrested, we were getting beaten, we couldn't speak, and then we flee and we go to faraway countries, and then these people are back on the social media. Every platform you go to, they're following you, they're harassing you, they're stifling your voice, they're calling you stupid. I'm sick of listening to Padare. He is obviously living abroad on a visa, and he has already proven to be a staunch supporter of
Excuse me, Knife.
I'm sorry.
Please focus on the topic of the day.
Okay, got you. I'm sorry. Okay, so all of the money, let's go to the money where all of the money is going. In Zimbabwe, I used to sell emeralds. I used to go to Mberengwa and go hang out at the supermarket, at the Growth Point, and find these guys who smuggle the emeralds. And I used to buy from them. The emerald is illegal in Zimbabwe when it is in the raw form. If anybody catches you with a raw emerald, you are going to go to prison. So what these guys are doing is they are bringing in these gem cutters. Those gem cutters, you will find them all over the Sheraton Hotel, Munamtapa. They are living in Munamtapa for almost like years and months. Gem cutters who they're paying and keeping in the hotels, and their job is to cut gems. You go in those rooms, that's all they're doing. on the bed, on the floor, is just cut diamonds. They're cleaning it so it can go across the world. This is another way the money is coming out of Zimbabwe. They're not flying the raw rocks out of Zimbabwe and taking them out. And then my last point is when Rutendo came on, the one thing I really appreciated about him, I don't like his politics, is that he tried to put this like concise picture of this company of Southern Africa, the BSA, British South African Company. He tried to draw the picture for everybody that this is the element that is running Southern Africa. So at the end of the day, it's like we got to go back to the drawing board. The Chimurenga is not over yet. We need to get the puppets out of office. And then we need to get the real leaders of Zimbabwe in place right now without these attachments with the umbilical cord to the colonialists. Thank you for the space, guys.
So the knife, before you go, when you were giving your submission, you were constantly saying, you guys, but I understand you could be part of us. I would have thought that the sort of suggestions and the recommendations that you do give could be inclusive. Maybe in a minute and a half's time, would you give your suggested solutions to this problem that is happening? Because we have talked about the Belarusians, the Russians, and so on and so on. They are so complicated and they have got a lot of ammunition and so on. So what do you think should the Zimbabweans do, including you? Thank you.
You know, honest to God, I tried to put my head around this. I left Zimbabwe in the early 90s. You know, when I came for asylum abroad, they told me that there's nothing going on in Zimbabwe. You need to go back. You're telling us lies, right? They were, if Zimbabwe was good, it was 10-1 with the US dollar. So at the end of the day, man, it's like trying to go to the forest and you find a hungry lion and you want to sit and have a conversation with a hungry lion to convince it not to eat you and go eat something else. We have a problem. We have a big problem at home. The revolution is almost ripe right now, but these people are smart enough to where they went to get themselves extra security to keep us in check. I'm going to give you a quick example why it's going to be so difficult. In Nigeria, it was a tribal war which was going on in the villages. And now all of the reports coming out of Nigeria is that the people who are now killing is no longer the tribes. It's actually people in military camouflage. Who are those people right now? It's the same Wagner war machine. So when Wagner is invited to come to take part in this war, they are playing on both sides because they want to keep the trouble going on so they can keep getting employed, right? So they're going to sponsor the both sides to keep this energy going. And Wagner doesn't care who you are; is just going to come and kill everybody when they need to kill. So we are stuck, man. We are stuck. This calls for I think it calls for a lot of the African countries. We need to create our own council, not including government, citizens. We create our own council as groups of African countries, and we present our agenda to the world. This is what we see for Africa, not one by one, country by country, trying to fight. We all as Africans come together with one focused agenda that we will present as our path to moving on from here on. I think that's probably going to be the best thing. Get the global attention involved.
Thank you, Knife, for your submission. At this point in time, I will call upon Dr. Ranga to respond to what Knife and everyone else has said, and also give your submission. Thank you, Dr. Ranga.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Maifa, and thank you to all these wonderful contributions from citizens. My brother Native and my brother Knife Champion, we are hearing you, and I think that the message from everybody is clear. The clarity is that things are not working. So right now we're talking about corruption. We're talking about those who have been caught red-handed, doing all these corrupt deals. I think that as Zimbabweans, we have become very good at describing the situation, which is very clear to everyone. I think that where we need to put more effort is what are the solutions? And I know that's a very difficult thing. It's so broad. So there are short-term solutions and there are long-term solutions. There's what we need to be doing now in response to this. And the now in my mind is every right-thinking Zimbabwean should be angry. We should be upset that there are people who are abusing our resources. They are using their positions in government to milk the country, to run the country further down to the ground. They are mortgaging our futures, which means that right now they get 5 million from Wagner Group or whichever other group is doing that, so that they give these companies mineral rights that we will have to be responsible for. So we need to be angry as Zimbabwean citizens. And when you are angry, people can't tell you how to be rational. And I mean by that, we have to show outrage. Right now, our platform as citizens to show outrage is social media. That is why the government today wants to ban, or the people in government today want to regularize social media and stuff. They already control the traditional media. So we all need to speak up. And no voice is too small. Remember, the guy in charge said the voice of the people is the voice of God. For one moment, he was telling the truth. you know, he knows the truth, but obviously they use that truth to suppress us. So I'm saying that to say, what can we do now? Let's be upset. I mean, we're not telling people to be upset, but we are all upset that there are people in government today who say "Tichatonga usvika madhonga nenyanga." Meanwhile, hanzi 2013 change ndiripo. Meanwhile, we're gonna keep milking the country. We're gonna keep stealing the gold, the diamonds, and everything. And if you guys speak up, we're gonna shoot you like what happened August 2018. So they are so brazen about it. But the reason they're brazen is most of the time we are very good at describing, oh, this happened, this person stole. What I think we need to adopt as a culture is to say, how do we do something today? And I say that we speak up. And when we speak up, guess what? They listen. We trend online. When we trend online, especially something that is against those running the government, they don't like it because their friends will be saying, hey, what's going on? That guy from Belarus will be calling ED and saying, hey, listen, I want to help you do this, but what's going on in your country? Are you sure you're still in charge? Because like we're talking about revolution, we can do an online revolution, which means speak up, and it costs us very little money to do so. So that's one thing we can do today. Let's speak up. Let's say this is wrong. There's never a good reason to be stealing our resources. There's never any justifiable reason. Don't say I went to war, so now I'm justified, because some of us lost our relatives who were fighting in that war. So you don't have a right as a Zimbabwean to say I am more equal than others, and I'm guaranteed, or I'm supposed to be the one to send the military to shoot citizens, like what happened August 2018, where citizens were speaking up and were just minding their business in Harare, but because some people are in charge, they say now let me send the military to go and shoot on these citizens. I'm saying that to say we need to speak up, and they are afraid of our voices. That's why they are making laws to silence all of us. So let's never get tired of speaking up. Let's not think that our voices mean nothing. No, they do mean something. When we make them loud enough, sometimes echoes can crack buildings. Remember the wall of Jericho falling apart? People were going around and it fell. Well, let's make noise. In terms of what next? Once the documentary comes out, my expectation is that those who know they're in that documentary and they were doing something wrong, if they have any kind of sense of shame, they should just resign ahead of time and just maybe run out of the country or whatever. I'm not saying they should run away from the law, but hey, resign, get out of there before time. Because when the documentary comes, if you are the minister or you are whatever post you hold in government, we don't expect you to hold that position for another day, another extra day. Why are you there? You are there you're supposed to be protecting our resources. You are supposed to be there to make Zimbabwe better. You don't make it better by stealing from it. So that's the next level. We should demand that those who have done something, once they come out, please, we don't want to hear from you as a government official. The next time we hear from you, you should be in jail.
Hey,
We should
Mkoma.
demand that. And
Hey,
the next point.
Mkoma, I just wanna let
Sorry,
everyone.
excuse
No,
me, excuse me. Can
no.
you just give him finish his submission? You can always come in.
Okay, Tarisai Panest is all I wanted to say. Ndaisa Zinu Panest. Thank you. Keep going on.
Oh, sure. Thank you. And the next thing is obviously, thank you for, the platform. The next thing is, look, we have elections coming up. Let's take those seriously. This is our opportunity to change our government legally, constitutionally, and let's do it. And I hope that those who have been involved in all these corrupt deals and they have been exposed, they don't even try to seek re-election or try to seek staying or coming back to government. So let's mobilize, let's galvanize each other, let's tell each other, listen, the only way our hospital are gonna work again is when we participate, because all of us are participating in the misery right now, whether we're in Zimbabwe or outside. We have to send money every month, maybe 3-4 times, to our relatives, to the activists on the ground, to try to keep things going. So we are all involved in this. So I think that making sure that we win the next election is also the long-term goal. And not only that, once we win, it's not like, okay, we rest on our laurels. We have to make that government work for the people. That's why we're talking about the citizen-centered government. And it is also true that right now, the viable choice is Triple C and Advocate Nelson Chamisa. I know everybody out there say, I can do it. That's democracy. It's okay. But for most of us citizens who are clear-eyed about what Zimbabwe looks like today, it's ZANU PF versus Triple C. And Triple C is the citizen. You may not agree with everything that Advocate Nelson Chamisa has done or Triple C has done, but that is our best chance to change our country and move it and make it better. So I would say that let's galvanize each other. Let's make those noise. There's something called picketing, okay? So if a minister has been caught in these corrupt deals, instead of just talking about it, we picket, we put posters, we make loud noise at the schools where their kids go to school and so forth to say, hey, this guy here is wanted by Zimbabwean citizens for stealing so much gold. And there are so many things we can do. And we don't need permission from ED and ZANU-PF. They're not going to give it. But we need to be creative. They're being creative every day. Thank you very much. Like always, I talk a lot, but I think it's very critical that we keep talking. We don't give up. Thank you.
So, Dr. Ranga, before you go, I need also to find out from you about what you have just said about us making so much of noise, and it's very important. I really acknowledge that. But let me draw you back to some events that happened in 2007 when there was discovery of the diamonds in Chiazwa. And also the incident of farm mechanization. I'm sure it is 2007, 2008, if I'm not mistaken. The only difference that we have now is maybe all the evidence of looting of diamond in Chiazwa was written, and all the looting of the RBZ in the farm mechanization was also written. And here the Aljazeera one, it's visual, and they will be seeing these people. These guys, we have known them in the farm mechanization issue. They actually insisted that I had Chinamasa really saying that, yes, we did that, but we are not going to be apologetic about that. They do not have conscience. They do not have shame. What difference will it make in this instance of the Al Jazeera one? Thank you.
Thank you, my brother Denford. That's the question we've been trying to answer for the last 43 years. And I'm sure we have learned a lot in the last 43 years. Some things work, some things don't. So like my brother Knife was talking about that, it's like this and stuff. what I would say is what is different today is that we are involved. You and me are participating as citizens. Let's do what we know works. When we spoke up about drugs, guess what? That minister was fired or resigned. When Nyatsime happened, I know there's a documentary coming on that. Citizens participated in searching for more Blessing Ali until her body was found. And we know the pandemonium that followed. We still have our advocate, Job Scala, in jail now because they're trying to tell the citizens, when you speak up, we do something. But guess what? There is always more of us than them. And they are supposed to be working for all of us Zimbabwean citizens, wherever we are in the world. So what is different is today we have social media. We can talk all day long. We can challenge these people. Some people are going to courts and stuff, which we know they're captured. What I'm saying is that, look, we are determined. The reason we're all on this space today is because we want to make our country better. That's part of the solution. We are participating in the elections that are coming. It's not a given that, oh, they're going to stay in power. And for those who may still think that, well, you know, ED is always going to be there or Chiwenga is going to be there. Well, they say that about Mugabe. He is no longer there. So circumstances have changed. The reason I'm saying that is we shape the future ourselves. The future is determined by you and me participating like we are doing, sharing ideas in terms of what works, what doesn't. I can't guarantee you that any one set of actions is going to give us answers or solutions, but we keep trying and we work very hard. 1980, 1985, we didn't have social media like this. So once they shut down the Herald, ZBC to us, we had no space to talk, to educate each other as citizens. We had no way of saying how we felt about things. But now, this is now 2023. The world has changed. We didn't have Pachedu exposing all those things. Now, look, and I hear people all the time talking about, oh, we don't have the voters' roll, electronic voters' roll. But what I would tell you is, if there's a voters' roll in Zimbabwe, we citizens are going to have access to it. If it is accessible to Zanu PF, it's going to be accessible to Triple C, one way or the other, because this is the 21st century. So we can't just resign and be victims of our own circumstances. We need to stand up and we need to speak up. We need to use every avenue available to us to make it so that we win. Because they are fighting very hard, because it's valuable for them to stay in. We need to fight harder so that we do better than them. But thank you very much. I can go on, my brother Denford. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ranga, for that great submission. Sabuk Dobbs, you allow me to give this opportunity to Dr. Diamond. We haven't had a single woman speak on this space this morning, so please allow Dr. Diamond to go first, then we'll come back to you. Over to you, Dr. Diamond.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amai. Thank you so much. And Mkoma Dobbs, thank you very much for allowing me to speak before you. And it's so fortunate that I've spoken after Dr. Ranga's submission, powerful submission. And I really
I can't hear Dr. Diamond. Dr. Amai, can you hear?
She's loud and clear.
Yeah, so there's a likelihood that
let me drop out. Let me drop down.
That's what happened last week.
No,
that's what
you are clear.
Let me drop down and come back, because it wouldn't really make sense if the host is not hearing me. I'll drop down and come back, Dr. Maifa. Is that okay?
Okay, Doctor.
Thank you. Cheers.
Meanwhile, we can go to Sabuk Dobbs is reconnecting. I think something is happening. I hope your network is okay.
Okay. What's going on there with host? Is he available?
Denford.
Yes, I can hear you. I was adding Dr. Diamond. I'm not too sure if she can now speak.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Mkoma Denford. Confirm you can hear me now.
I can hear you now.
Thank you so much. And I just wanted to appreciate everyone on the platform, most importantly, the host and the co-host for such an opportunity. And I just came through just to try to be as brief as possible in agreeing with Dr. Ranga's submission to say the times are different. What is different right now, Mkoma Denford, is the power that we have through social media. Why do I say the power? It's because the power that we have that has made us just be here. I looked on the platform earlier on and there were over 100 people who were on the platform. Do we know each other from Adam? The answer is no. Did we know each other 5 years ago? We did not. Did we know each other in 1980, 1985, 2018? Possibly no. But then when you look at the way that we have been, if you said Denford, Dr. Amaifa, CCC NAP, I know who CCC NAP is Dr. Rangamkoma Champion, Sister Priscilla, Maikuku, and everyone. You realize that we've been brought together by the power of social media. So if we then extend the power that we have, the reason why I keep on saying power, power is because that's what these people are wrestling from at the people, the citizens. And we want to show them that the power is within us, Isusuma citizens. You see, in 2018, if you realize very well, they tried to silence us about the August 1st shootings. That's pretty much trying to take away power from the citizens, tell us or teach us a lesson by being violent, by killing us. If you look at the situation with a member of parliament, a lawmaker, Job Sikala, is trying to silence people, take away power from the people and say, if you exercise the power in you, this is what we are going to do. They know that citizens are the one with the power to change things, and therefore they need to do all this that they are doing to ensure that we go back into small cocoons, Towanda, Tiriko, and not be able to exercise that which is within us, which is the power. What is different right now, Mkoma Denford, like you asked, is the fact that we have come to realization. I mean, 43 years of experience is pretty much power that we need. When you look back at what has been throughout the 43 years, you will notice, Kutisho, the results is deterioration in everything in Zimbabwe. My roads, hospitals, remuneration for our civil servants, poverty, unemployment, everything that you can think of as far as infrastructure, as far as deterioration is concerned, is the result of the experience that we've had under this regime. So what I can say right now, I'm really looking forward to seeing this documentary, because at the end of the day, it just confirms what we already know. And to quickly answer what you just asked as a topic, ZANU-PF versus Aljazeera, should Zimbabweans be shocked? The answer is no, we are not shocked. But what it is, it confirms what we have already experienced in the 43 years of this ZANU-PF being in power. What we need to do, therefore, I mean, knowledge is okay, experience is okay, and there's no point for us to continue just getting to experience all these things. What we need to do is to act upon what we have experienced, or acting upon what we already know. Oh God, just bear with me. I'm going to have to end this call. Yeah, sorry, I've ended it. And what we need to do is we need to act upon what we already know. Exercise the power that we have. This social media, let's make noise, as much noise as we can, because they clearly know that the more we are, the more noise that we make, it's going to deafen them. It's going to cause them to panic. Right now, you would know that ED himself knows that there is social media, and he knows the impact on social media on everything. That is why, in the capacity of a whole president, he stands up on a podium and says to people, go out there and rakasha them. If it wasn't a thing, if social media wasn't a thing, he wouldn't waste his time telling his rakashis to come out and rakasha other people. That's not a statement that would have come from a sound thinking president. So what am I saying? It doesn't surprise me, or it shouldn't surprise you, when you then hear people, I'm not going to mention them by name because some of them are on the platform right now listening to me, when they come out to defend the undefendable. Right now, you hear them defending the likeness of this woman who goes to the airport with a wrong bag, full of what? Not full of coins, but full of gold in a bag. Nearly 10 kgs of gold. And the explanation is, I picked a wrong bag. I've always asked people, if she is going to have various bags in her home, and she happened to pick this bag mistakenly of gold, what other bags are in her home? What other minerals are in her home? To loot the country, kuondonga nyika, ukubulala ilizwe, to an extent of you being called a dunderhead. Guys, this is extreme. This is absurd, for short of any better words. Because at the end of the day, and yesterday I checked to see if I was in my right sense in thinking what dunderhead means. I googled kuti dunderhead kumboti kudi. Not that I didn't know what dunderhead was, but I was just thinking to myself, kuti, honestly, to loot to an extent of being called a dunderhead. And a dunderhead is a stupid person. That's what it means. In the grade 1, ukamuti stupid, they know what stupid means. To an extent of a whole vice president being referred to as a stupid person. Guys, we can't just keep watching. They know that the power is within the citizens. In 2017, as I finished, you will notice that they knew their plan of the coup. They knew what they had planned, whatever they had planned to take over from Mugabe. As much as they thought that, we all thought that Mugabe was irremovable, if it's a word. We all had heard even Grace Mugabe saying Mugabe was going to Tonga in his grave. We knew, but then they formed a plan. After formulating a plan using the dunderhead to put the dunderhead ahead, and unsurprising, the dunderhead was ahead in the plan, but they could not go ahead with the plan without the citizens. That goes to show how much powerful we are, how much all these things lie in our own hands, and how much we ought to act on the knowledge that we have. We galvanized together. We were on the streets as citizens. During that time, there was no Zanu PF, there was no ZAPU, there was no CCC, there was no MDC Monzora, there was no APA, there was just citizens. So this is a time like no other time where citizens have to come together as a unit. We need to come together. We need to register big. We need to vote big. We need to exercise the power that we have. It's not like in 1980 where we used to watch from the terraces and hope that magic was going to happen and hope that miracles were just going to happen. As much as I may believe in miracles, but I believe that this is a time which is a bit different. And this is not to shoot our prayer warriors, because I can see we've got our prayer warriors on the platform right now. But I'm saying, as much as we are praying, the miracles that are going to happen in our time, they are not those miracles like when Moses hit the waters and it parted and there was way for the Israelites to move. Those are not the type of miracles that we are expecting today. We are praying, yes, that's absolutely fine. I totally agree. And I subscribe to prayer as you do, Mkoma Denford. But at the end of the day, when I look into the time and era where we are right now, we need to pray and we need to act. We can't just watch, because if we watch, the dunderhead is going to do what the dunderhead dunderhead is known for, being a dunderhead. And we are going to say 43 years of being led by dunderheads, 50 years, 60 years, before we realize it's going to be 100 years of being led, if led is the right word, of being ruled by dunderheads. And they're going to loot us up to until we are nothing. Last week we were talking about, we had, I can't remember his name, our guest speaker, who came and he actually educated us and equipped us with knowledge to understand that we are one of the richest countries in minerals in Africa. Zimbabwe is. That's not a topic for discussion. That's a known fact, but we are one of the poorest countries in Africa. When you try to balance those two, you're just wondering what the hell is going on. And the only answer that I can see when I actually look back is the power that is in us that we are not exercising. And when I continue talking about the power, I know that the dunderheads-led party is going to come through and want to put words into the mouth of the speakers. That's not what we are saying. We are registering to vote, to vote big. We are going to go and vote big, and we will defend our vote big, and we are going to change the way that our country is, from being a country which is very rich yet very poor to a country which is rich and which equates to the way that we are rich in minerals, by looking at the roads and looking at the education system that is being afforded to our children, and looking at the remuneration that our civil servants are getting, and looking at the quality of hospitals and the equipment that is in the hospitals, and looking at the infrastructure, looking at the economy. All that should be able to match how our country is said to be rich. But where we are right now, honestly, the dunderheads are going to continue if we don't take the power that is in us and remove this country, this leadership or this regime in a constitutional manner. We can't keep on watching as if we were in 1980, because the answer is we are no longer there. So my brother, as I finish, thank you very much, but the citizens have come to a realization. That is what I think, because when I look at the way that we are doing things, is totally different from the way that we used to do things in 2018, in 2013, to 2005, going back to 1985, 5 years after we attained our independence. We are in a different era. And as much as these people may talk, because one thing that I've noticed on these platforms is we are getting so many people who are coming to shoot us in the mouth and say, yeah, you are keyboard warriors, yeah, my voter, we never social media. The answer is, if it didn't matter, if my vote anchor asinga will social media, why do you then worry? Why do you then bother to address people who don't matter? It's the way that CCC right now is the only way to go. Democracy will allow us to have anybody. If you wake up tomorrow, which is the Ane party and we know the Chimuti party, is absolutely fine. That's what democracy is all about. But at the end of the day, if you want to be really, really objective, you will notice that the man in discussion at the moment is Nelson Chamisa and nobody else. And if you want the betterment of your country, you ought to understand that Zanu PF, the reason why Nelson Chamisa today is not allowed to hold even my rallies, is not allowed to even hold my meetings, private meetings, even a job seeker right now, they are in prison. The reason is the only deal in town. He is only the person that absolutely could take Zimbabwe to the next level. So therefore, we ought to come together as opposition as we may be, but I don't want to call us opposition. We are the people who are going to take Zimbabwe to the next level, the level that we are all anticipating, a new great Zimbabwe. So guys, we can't allow these dunderheads to continue in the notion of looting up to until Takuto Sekeka. We are being, when you speak about you being Zimbabwe, the next thing everywhere where we are abroad right now. We should just say you are Zimbabwean. The first question is, they want to associate you with Mugabe. And then they'll be asking, oh yeah, he's dead. How are things now? People feel sympathy. They don't empathize. They sympathize with us as if we are a disabled group of people. So we need to continue doing what we are doing. Register big, vote big, and defend our vote big, and change this country for the betterment. Thank you very much, Mkoma Denford. Thank you very much, Dr. Maifa. I can go on and go on, but I really, really appreciate this space, because guess what? It's been moving mountains. We listen every Saturday, and at the end of the day, there's something that happens. Thank you very much.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Dr. Maifa. Go ahead.
No, I was calling you.
All right. Thank you very much to Dr. Diamond. And I think I need also to address this, that when I was imposing questions to Dr. Ranga, especially about the comparisons of the events in 2007 and 8, and now that which has happened now, surely all these events, I can comprehend them and I know what could be happening. Guess what? That is the reason why Dr. Maifa and you, Dr. Diamond, when we're starting, we're saying, for those who can speak Isindebele, can you please speak in Isindebele? Those who can speak Tonga, to speak Tonga. Those who can speak English, you can speak English. Shona as well. The reason being, we are having listeners from Facebook, we are having listeners from YouTube, we are having from Change Radio. We want diversity of how we'll be speaking, because maybe the level of how we'll be getting the information could be different. So why I was asking this is in order for all people to really understand the dynamics of our systems in Zimbabwe. So thank you very much, Dr. Diamond, for what you have just said. And it's important that we all need to speak our mind in as far as the subject is concerned. Back to you, Dr. Maifa.
Thank you very much, Mkoma Denford. And we want to welcome Jeff to this platform and everyone else who came later on. And as we give our submissions, let's please kindly focus on the topic of the day. So over to you, Jeff. Jeff, the microphone is yours.
Yeah, my citizens, what do you say?
Yeah, what do you say, Madanda?
Sure, unoziva kuti udhandaiti huri papi? Huri pakuti unenge uri kudiaspora uchingopopota apa hudi kuuya kuzovhota. Ndo udhandaiti ihwohwo. Nenyaya yekuti kupopota kwese kwaunenge uchiita unopopoterani kana usingauyi kuzovhota? Ndiwo unenge uchitori dhandaiti. Right. Toita nyaya yecorruption. Unoziva kuti corruption inorwadza zvisingaiti. Ukaona vanhu vanoita corruption so unowa kurwadzikana. Rushwa akabatwa negold achiti atora wrong handbag. Kana akanga achismagwa icorruption isingaiti iyoyo. Handiti. Tochivhunza vana champion kuti kana tichinge taona vanhu vari corrupt kudaro, handiti vabatwa necorruption dzavo voinda kumakoti vorepresentedwa nema politicians atinenge tiri kukuza kuti ndo machampions of democracy acho atinoda kuvhotera, munonzwa sei? Handiho here udhandaiti wacho ihwohwo wokuti uku unenge wakamira sapolitician uchifaita corruption, tabata vanhu vari corrupt womanya kuti wovavharidzira mukoti kuti vasavharirwa mumajeri. Handiho udhandaiti wacho here ihwohwo.
Jeff, please kindly focus on the topic. We don't want to drop anybody, so focus on the topic, please.
Ndizvo zvachoka zvatiri kutaura kuti kana pane anything takanga tichida kuda nechiburitswa neAljazeera, handiti konga chibude zvetione kuti vari kuita corruption yacho ndivanani.
Jeff, my brother, I'm not a lawyer to talk about, right? I think you know me very, very well. I never been a lawyer, and I don't think I will be even one day, right? So
very
reference
good.
me.
But iwewe ndakubvunza mubvunzo kuti ndakubvunza mubvunzo.
Wait. I don't think it's necessary to point me as if I am a lawyer. And at the same time, it would be difficult to talk about someone who comes to a space and started to insinuate. That is something that is not good at all, because the topic is very, very clear. We should be we should be in a position of uniting one another and realizing that all those, the Mnangagwas, the Chiwengas, are even puppets who are not even acting in the best interest of us, based on our social contract and based on our principal agent relationship, because they are our agents. We have entrusted them with the mandate to rule us, but they are not ruling us. Instead, they are even defining us as enemies of the state, because we have got a different political view with them. So I don't want to get much into it, but to just say to everyone, do you see the behavior of social media macho of Zanu PF, who are only used to come on Twitter to make noise, distract? While they are distracting, when they go back to Zanu PF, they will put tails behind the legs or between the legs and say mambo, murukuti kudi mambo. Why? Because themselves, they don't realize the power that they do have. They don't realize who are they, who has got the future, who has got more time to survive on this planet, who has got the resources that these guys are using and looting. This is the tragedy that our people have. We do have to come to a point where we understand that these guys at some point, they don't know what they represent. They have already sold their future. They are just now those who are lost. Vanonzi vaya vakanzi najesu regai vakafa vavigani, ava vakafa ava havachaverengwi kuti vanhu, chakungoverengwa mutumbu, zvimwe zvose zvapasisina, because munhu wakadai unonyatsokuona kuti vana Mnangagwa vakaba kubva muna 1980 until now. Munhu aifanira kudai achifunga kuti veduwe, ngatibatanei navamwe tipedze hondo iyi, tibvise zvipashumaranga namanangara. Ina handivati vakuru, ini ndoti manangara anoda kubviswa pamaziso, because vanovhara maziso avanhu. Manangara amene kuti vamwe vanoti kudii, hanzi mabori. Ndo mabori aya, mabori vatungamiri venhema ndo zvavanofanira kuzikamwa vari. Ngazvisatishamisa, asi kuti ngatitore as a learning event kuti kuna vamwe vanhu vachakarasika vanotoda kutobatirwe mutsvimbo kuti vasvike. Kana kuti motoita zvataita kumamisha kuti vamwe vanhu vangware, munotosungira masingizani, mosunga kuti pavanezotanga kumanya vogumburwa vowa kuti vagomuka zvakanaka. These are kind of people vakadai so. But zvisinei, I just wanted to say what we have to do is to make sure that we keep on having our voice heard. And to all those vamwe vanoita inonzi chii, kaplani kayako kuti zvanzi kwai toda kuita shaisano. Aiwa, vanoita shaisano munogona kuita zvenyu, toziva kuti mune murimo maspace makaterera. But to be honest, we all know kuti bato rinonzi bato muZimbabwe rinopikisa iCCC chete. Awo mamwe mahumwe awo kawo. I'm not saying vamwe tinofanira kuvaita decampaign or whatsoever, but at this juncture, what we should be doing as the citizens of Zimbabwe was to come up together, leave all other noises, leave all other things. I know that it's your democratic right, but what I want to say here, if we are going to have two political parties, one thing that is certain, there will be no stuffing of ballot boxes. There will be no stuffing of whatever nonsense. So what will be the ultimate goal? It's going to be something that is simple to deal with. And I think the dictator will go nicely. But if we continue to have people who will be saying, oh, I want to exercise my constitutional right. Yes, of course you can. But at some point, we just have to be rational and be able to think what is better for us. Because at this point, what is better for us is to make sure that we have got one voice, or we speak with one voice and deal with the regime that we all know, that we have been dealing with for a long time. Thank you.
Mngoma champion ndangachida ngoti ndoziva kuti manga musati mapedza. Ndachiti matsamwiso Jeff akutsamwisa ichezvo. Ende kana matsamwa ndokuzivai. Ndichakupai mumwe mukana kuti ukaenderera mberi. Mukoma Dobbs vanga vachidonha and Dr. Diamond mambo pepverwa way na Mukoma Dobbs. I know your hand is up, but can I quickly go to Mukoma Dobbs, ndoenda kuna Mukoma Smarters, and then I will come back to you, Dr. Diamond, unless if they still want you to speak. But Mukoma Dobbs, go ahead with your submission.
Ipai Dr. Diamond, I think wanoda kureacta kuna Mukoma Jeff.
All right. Endera mberi Dr. Diamond.
I wanted to, when we get dunderheads like Jeff coming on the space, assuming that people are not registered to vote, I needed to take this as an opportunity to prompt us to take some learning out of it. Kuti, you see the type of dunderheads that we are dealing with. So the way that we have to move on in as far as reacting to such dunderheads is to actually show that we are registered to vote. I, for one, am, and I'm proud to say that. So assumptions we counter it by number one, registering to vote. We laugh at them in their faces and encourage our people. We do have children, other than us being in the diaspora. Guys, we need to encourage vana vedu vakatena 18 and let them aware that they have a right, they have the power that has been bestowed in them by the fact of them being adults, 18 years of age. To encourage, facilitate that they go and register to vote, so that we show these dunderheads like Vanwanenga and Jeff coming through and assuming the unassumable. Kuti vanhu vari kudiaspora, therefore they don't have. We are still Zimbabweans. I am a Zimbabwean and I'm a registered voter. I'm in the diaspora, and I know there's a hell lot of others who are like me. So we need to take a lesson from this dunderhead and say, listen, as much as you can be running with this narrative of yours, which doesn't make sense. We do have people who are registered to vote, who are in the diaspora, who are going to be making, I'm not going to make an announcement to Jeff, but if he wants to bet me, the Chamrat is my thumbprint with my face to show him that, yes, I was a registered voter, I have voted, and I voted for CCC. Saka ande, ngati kurudzirei, vanhu vedu kuti varegister to vote, vana vedu vakakwanisa ma 18 years, we ought to encourage them to register to vote and defend the vote. That's what I wanted to tell this dunderhead before he had gone, to say dangerous assumption, but at the end of the day, there's no amount of dunderheadness that you can come with here and try to let us know. If you are a leader, why do you have gold in your house? If you are, how do you have different bags in your house? Before we get to the defending part of who defended Priscilla Mfumira when she went to court, we want to know why would be Mnangagwa and his family be associated with any corruption, with any looting? The answer is he should not be where he is, because if he's a looter, he doesn't belong there. The lawyers have to go and defend, because with a lawyer ibasa, you earn money from it. So why would we be defending why would a whole president and his family be associated? Why would be leadership or rulers, people who are associated with the first family, be involved in corruption? Why are they even suspected of it before we get to the defending part? So I don't understand his logic. Anyway, I'm not surprised, because even Marrakesh, they could not find any better representative. Because of Hasha, they could not even find a better representative other than Jeff. And Jeff is just coming out here to ooze out his dunderheadedness. So we are not having that, but we are going to vote. We are voting big, and we are going to defend our vote big. Thank you very much, Mkomaden, for Denda Maifa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Diamond, for your response. Thank you, Mkoma Champion. Yeah, we should always bear in mind that there are distractions, but don't put it too hard, because some people are being paid to do what they do. So we just move on with our program. And as we almost come to the end of our program, let's be ready to give our final submissions and conclusions, and also keep finding solutions to the problem that Zimbabwe is facing, or to what we should do as citizens once the documentary is out. I will yield this time to Dr. Smatters.
Thanks, Dr. Maifa. I think it was Mkoma Dobbs first. So I'll come after Mkoma Dobbs. Mkoma Dobbs, you can take it.
Sorry, Sabuku.
Yes.
Sorry for jumping you. And Sabuku, motitaurirawo kuti anhu enyu munotonga kubhuku kwenyuku, kana documentary rabuda muchawati chinyi? Vanhu wenyu vachaziva chokwadi here kana kuti muchaitei nezvazvo traditional leader? Thank you, Sabuku Dobbs.
Yeah, many thanks. Thanks a lot. Unfortunately, our brother is gone, Jeff. We need to tell people like Jeff to understand, to say when we are saying we want to change the system, we wanted to change it for all of us, not to benefit few individuals like what is happening at the moment, to say those few individuals who are benefiting, they are ready to benefit other foreigners at our own expense. So we feel the pain, and we can't then tolerate if somebody comes and try to probably protect or glorify somebody who is stealing from us. We feel very harsh. And it's no longer proper for anybody in Zimbabwe to blame somebody to be away from home, because we know each and every family, probably one or two people who are away from home, and we don't need those people don't need to be away from home, but they don't have any other option, and it's causing a lot of problems, even family problems and so forth. And those people who are away from home, they are not there. They are not volunteering to be there, but they are just forced by the situation. Going to the topic about Zanu PF versus Aljazeera. This is not really something which is new, but it's only that now we have actual proof, or what we can call evidence, to say we now have evidence to say really nobody can now doubt us, to say if we call us to say those people are just stealing the resources and so forth. And we are not even allowed to touch those resources, even to do the mining itself without going to the exporting what they can do. But only those mining that are prepared to bring the Chinese to do the mining at the expense of our youth who are just unemployed, and then they just tell them to make money. How would you make money if you are prevented to work on that land? While we see people like Jeff coming to spaces and say we have taken our land, not knowing that we haven't taken our land if we can't do the mining. Of course, we need all those solutions to see how can we get those solutions. But I don't think giving another 5 years to Zanu PF would give us anything, would change anything else. So probably the best way we have to understand now is to run behind one candidate and probably one political party to run behind the Chamisa and CC for the sake of just removing the Zanu PF government. Because if you give it another 5 years, we probably won't have that Zimbabwe. If they are prepared because they know that is easy to steal. Those who complain that there's a thief who get persecuted, so they will be run in huge numbers. And by the end of 5 years, we won't have Zimbabwe. It will be just a show of what it should be. We have to understand that and start acting now. It's very difficult. We know the animal we are facing, like Zanu PF, is very difficult. Even if now they told us about it going to doing another vote blitz, if they give, by the time limit which they give to say from which period to which period, we have to understand to say it might be cosmetic. They might go to few places and register very few people. So that program of voter registration should be just continuing, not people to wait to say probably that blitz will be carried out by ZEC. ZEC is no longer a trusted organization. We have to read between the line to say, are they going to register when they do those blitz, or they are just going to move from one place to another and arrive there unannounced and move to another place. So we have to be careful with whatever is going to happen now until election. And we also have to understand our polling stations, the way how they are being allocated to say where they perceive to be opposition strongholds that need to, and some are moved away from the constituents or from that ward to another ward in such a way to discourage free and fair election. So we need to tackle all those issues before we even reach the polling day. In terms of sending the message, it's now a duty of everybody to just continue sending the message until we get it back what belongs to us. What belongs to us is Zimbabwe and its resources. Not for us to be mentioned that we are Zimbabweans, but life is being made difficult by few individuals. Those who think it belongs to them. And all of those people who know how the country get liberated, everybody was a victim. Papungwe, anybody could be killed, no matter it's a young child, a woman, or whatever. When war was being fought, killing was being done indiscriminate. No, people would not select to say who is really armed or who is not armed. It was just going, and some of the majority of civilians fell the wayside by being labeled. But said that they were being murdered left, right, and center. So we have to understand it to say each and every family of the victims participated. So those who are saying those are the thieves. So we have to take away what belongs to you instead of let the thief hold it and hold you to ransom. Thanks a lot, everybody, for listening. Back to you, co-host and host.
Okay. Maita basa Chief Dopsy, and you have just articulated it the way almost everybody would believe. Asi ndoda kudzokora nyaya imwe chete inondinetsa yekuti munoona murume mukuru kana kuti varume vakuru kana kuti maauthorities vakuru vanotaura pachena kuti munhu wese ari muZimbabwe ari kuona satellite dish kana kuti munhu wese ari kuona a foreign TV channel is unpatriotic, and that is only said when there is a possibility of those channels flighting kuba kwavanenge vakaita. So who is being unpatriotic? Somebody who wants to see the corrupt activities that you guys did, and someone who is actually planning to say mapurisa anofana varanoenda kunobvisa satellite, to physically go and remove satellite dishes from people who installed them. And for that reason, why did that citizen opt to go and install that satellite dish, it is because of what they are giving us in Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation. It is because in the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation, in the Herald, in the Sunday Mail, we are not being given a fair chance, a fair airtime. But we are being labeled unpatriotic. And this is good patriotism, a different definition altogether. Then the same people are coming here and telling us that you need to go and when you are outside the country, you are being also, you don't have to complain about vote rigging because you can't go and vote. It's something that people should really understand this as we see. But Mkoma, as much as I can waffle. Makamira utaura endelea mbele. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mkoma Denford. Dr. Maifa, how are you? Thanks guys, everyone. Spoken Mkoma Champion, Dr. Diamond, Nasabuk there, and my brother, the native son. Mkoma Denford, I know you support Triple C, right? I do have questions, just 3 questions for you. I need you to verify something. I think from this space, we need to separate ourselves from dunderheads. Do you know in Triple C a guy called Oliver Marwa, who is in leadership? I think he could be the vice president, secretary general, or maybe organizing secretary. Do you know that guy, Oliver Marwa?
Yes, I'm familiar. Go ahead.
You're familiar with the name?
Yes, with the name.
Just the name, right?
I haven't interacted with him. I wouldn't want to lie.
Okay, is he a vice president for Triple C?
Let me relay this question to Dr. Maifa.
Dr. Maifa, Triple C munoziva munanonzi Oliver Marwa ere ari mupresidium.
Handimuzivi zvangu asi kutriple C handirini hakuna ma-structures. Hakuna ma-vice president.
Thank you so much. Kwanonzi Peter Patisani.
Handimuzivi hangu.
Okay, kwanonzi Tendingosi Magwaliba.
Vanhu vese ivava handivazivi Dr. Smartus.
Okay, thank you so much. Because pane dunderhead rauya panapa rikati Priscilla Mpumira, Wadya Jena nahenhereta Rishashwaya vakati vasungwa. Then vanhu vemutriple C ma-leaders vakaenda vakanoita sei vakanovarepresenta kucourt. So ma-names andani tikupaya ma-lawyers, ndo ma-lawyers ahenhereta Rushwaya, ndo ma-lawyers aWadya Jena naRushwaya. Oliver Marwa, Tendingosi Magwaliba, Charles Chinyama, Peter Patisani. So now when a dunderhead comes here and anoda kufungidzira kuti udunderhead hwake huri special up to the point of requesting a microphone just to try to sell propaganda. You know what? For some of us, that we cannot allow them to go unchallenged, right? Because we are mentioning corruption here, Mkoma Denford, right? We've got a question where we are discussing corruption, right? Then you have someone who is coming up just to try and defend corruption. Corruption is the problem that we have. Aljazeera, okay, we are going to expose corruption that's happening, which is endemic and systemic. We are going to expose it. Now, what do we have? We have a dunderhead who comes up here, wants to sell propaganda. Priscilla Mpumira, a former MP, stole $95 million in a poor country like Zimbabwe. Then he wants us to believe that he was represented by one of our leaders. That's just, I wanted to say that's just the term that I want to use. Unfortunately, I can't use it because I do have Munesh sitting next to me right now. So I'm not going to use that term. Zanu PF versus Aljazeera. Should Zimbabweans be shocked? When you look at, the moment you mentioned Zanu PF, right? I think right from 1980 to date, when you look at the scandals, right? We are looking at a regime with the leadership, people that do not have conscience, just to start off with, right? People that do not have values. right? They don't have values. They don't stand for anything. They don't stand for sense. So this is the Zanu PF. This is the regime now that's leading us, right? I was speaking to one senior Zanu PF person, sometime in January. Then I was like, but Zanu PF. So I asked the two questions. I'm like, Job Scala did I say? Then she then responded. She was like, Job Scala regayambo siwa akadai. But do you think that's fair? What you guys are doing? It was business as usual, right? So now me asking a Zanu PF person, these are people that do not stand for anything, like they don't have any emotion or they don't have any conscience. So when they steal, right? Then I asked a second question, but corruption yacho amuzoone kuti mazonyanya wena. So I said, what do you expect from us? Co-president wedu apo mazuwana. This is coming from a proper Zanu PF, someone who is at some point in time I pinned them central comics, right? I tell the president wedu, right? So the fish rots from the head. Once corruption is mentioned, main reason why we have Aljazeera, right? Achita walk scot-free today. It's because they have Mnangagwa as a frame of reference. They will always want to reference Mnangagwa. So they will know Mnangagwa is looting and stealing $5 billion. So you will not be the same person now coming back to say Mwajira waba 5 million. Because there is a principle, in Zanu PF, this is the principle that they use when they are stealing. All right. When they steal $5 million, they will make it a point that they will remove a certain percentage or a portion. The other portion goes to the party, then the other portion goes to the presidium. And this started long back, right? If you look at, Grace Mugabe, Mugabe, the old dispensation, right? You go to a central police station, police traffic. So when they are collecting bribes and the like, they would have a portion for the presidium. And this was Mugabe, of which Mugabe was just a lieutenant when it comes to stealing, if you're to compare Mugabe and Mnangagwa. So these guys, they've got structure. There's something that I saw on the internet today. I think some financials and also social commerce champion, if you saw them, where they were looking at Zanu PF, the structure. It was posted by Zeti. Says Zanu PF, in terms of money that they are getting from their supporters through subscriptions, I think they are getting 46,000, if I'm not mistaken, right? 46,000. But if you look at the money that they're getting from donations or from these bribes, we're looking at millions. $6 million that's coming from. And where is this 6 million coming from? Coming from the Wajira Generals, coming from the Fumiras, because they know once they've stolen, they really need to make sure that everyone is included, right? So once you start stealing now, Wajira General Kabanas, then you give Mnangagwa $1 million today. That Mnangagwa is compromised. So there's no way that we can expect the same regime, or there's no way that we can expect Mnangagwa then to come back and say, now I've appointed Zak or Matema Danda, right, to deal with corruption, because they've got their frame of reference. So Zanu PF will not be able to address this problem, which now makes me to come back to the point that was mentioned by Dr. Diamond there to say, guys, as we move closer to the elections, the message is let's get people registered to vote. I was presenting in another space to say, just look at Harare, for instance. Right now, we are sitting at 900,000 people that are registered to vote, according to the last report that we got from ZEC. And if you look at the preliminary report that was submitted for the census, Harare is close to 2.5 million people, and I feel that number is understated. We should be around 3 million in Harare. Right? If we could get 50% of that population, right, guys, registers to vote, so we have 1.5 million registered to vote in Harare. Factor in 85% voter turnout. Then factor in maybe 30%. Just give Zanu PF and Mnangagwa 30% from Mnangagwa, from the 1.5 million, which means we are left with close to 1 million people that are going to vote for President Nelson Chamisa. So once we have 1 million, the task is for us now to look for the other 1.6 million, because we just need 1.5, 1.6 million or 2.6 million collectively just to win that election. So if you are going to get 1.6 million from Mutare, I know Manika Land is one other stronghold, then we get from other urban areas. Then we've got a plan. Before we start to, shoot ourselves in saying, let's go to the rural areas, let's do this in rural, because we don't have time. We don't have time, and we know the tactics that are used by Zanu PF, in rural areas where they'll frog match people on the polling day. We can focus on the low-hanging fruits right now, because right now we don't have time. Time is not on our side, and we don't have resources even to defend the vote come 2023. We don't have enough resources because we need millions for us to be able to do that. But what is it that we need to do? We need to make sure that we capitalize on our strongholds. Harare, for instance, there's a blitz that's coming, I think, is it next week through ZEC? If you could mobilize people in Harare, if you could mobilize the youth, if you up to the time the voters' roll is closed, I think Harare can be a game changer. Just looking at Harare alone, I think Harare last election in 2018, I think President Nelson Chamisa got 600,000 votes in Harare, right? And 600,000, according to the ZEC results, they said that was not enough. So the challenge from 2018 has always been to say, what is it that we can do to make sure that we increase our number of presence in Harare alone. And the good thing is we've got the population, the migration, the demographics, they are supporting us. People are shifting from the rural areas to the urban areas now. The population here, rural to urban, it has gone down. So when you look at these metrics, when you look at these factors, they are in our favor as we go into this election at 2023. Because Mkoma Denford, Zanu PF will not be able to deal with corruption. There is no way that you can expect them, because everyone in Zanu PF is just a compromise. They cannot preach otherwise because they know they've captured the system. They know how to survive, right? So you're corrupt today, what you do is you just look for other people. I know Mkoma Denford, you are the host of this space, right? So if I want to bully everyone who's on this space, I'll make sure that such that I can interrupt everyone, because I know that you are in my back pocket. That's Zanu PF for you there. So when you see the Wajira Jenas, they will be allowed to loot, all right? Wajira Jena will be allowed to loot, and they've come up with some zones to say, okay, Wajira Jena, you can loot Kukosko. But when it comes to this side of the economy, this is for the presidium. When it comes to Bindura, this is for the president. When it comes to these mines are meant for the president. Or when it comes to diamond is meant for the president, right? So what does it mean? Which means now Zimbabwe, they've segmented Zimbabwe into some different niches and different markets for Zanu PF, for the elites. So when it comes to diamond is for the president, which leaves me with cotton. Cotton is for Wajira Jena, right? Then what about NASA? NASA is from Fumira. But remember to pay Caesar what belongs to Caesar. It's still 95 million, 9.5 million. You have to give it to the presidium, or you have to give it to Zanu PF, or you need to make sure that you do something that's going to benefit Zanu PF at the end of the day. The only way we can deal with corruption in Zimbabwe today, and this is not news, something that we've been talking about, we need to remove Zanu PF. How are we going to remove Zanu PF? Let's make sure that in Harare, let's increase that number from 900,000 people that are registered to vote. If we could increase it to 1.2 million, 1.5, then we do the same even for the urban areas before we go to the rural areas, because we need to do a gap analysis and a SWOT analysis, right? In terms of, and try to leverage on our strengths. We know the threats and we know our weaknesses. We are weak in rural areas, but when you look at time now, we don't have much time to be able to get enough numbers in the rural areas, but we still have time to make sure that we win Harare, we win Gweru, we win Blawayo, we win Mutare for change, and that change is possible this year. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much, Mkoma Smartas. You captured me. You captured Dr. Maifa. You can bully people, right? It's not tender. That was so analytic, and our response to that is only to say encouragements have to be made by both us on the outside and those on the ground to say everybody has got to take a responsibility of going to register or encourage other people to go and register. Unfortunately, there are some reports that we also heard to the effect that there is also a ghost law that is taking place within our ZEX offices, where people are deliberately just making sure that maybe 3 or 4 people are registered an hour or something. But these are some of the challenges that we are facing. Despite that, we need to focus going to make our people get registered. Like Dr. Amaifa has just said, we are getting to winding up our program. Let's start with the elder. Unfortunately, you came a little bit late, but I give your submission as well as giving your last remarks, especially on what has to be done. Zanu PF against the Aljazeera say vachita nyaya yekuti vari kungotsika madziro chaizvo kuti hatisiri takazviita izvozvo kana kuti zvakaitwa vamwe vanozviita wani saka toita sei. Go ahead, Elder.
Well, thank you so much, Denford. I actually came in a bit late due to the power cuts. Remember, we have got some load sheddings. Regarding to this issue of Zanu PF and Aljazeera documentary, chandinoona ndechekuti documentary wangu riripo asi ivo fear yavainayo ndeyekuti vanozviziva kuti zvese zvairekodwa ende ivo vari kutya kuti zvikazenge zvazonyatsobuda pachena zvichitaurwa nezita kuti ningi naningi 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 ndo vakaita izvi, inyaya yekuti vakutoziva kuti vanhu vese vanozviziva. Chokwadi chino hakuna munhu asingachizive kuti vanoba kuba vanoba ende kuba vakaba nanhasi vanongoramba vachingobirira. Chatinongofanira kungoita is just to be solidarity. Tongomira semunhu umwe chete. Dambudziko ratinaro ratichiri naro kakadambudziko katichiri nako kanhu kamwe chete kekungoti hatikwanise kuti timire takabatana as a sovereign citizens. Tikamira sema-sovereign citizens nekuti tinosapotana pama-platforms edu. Remember, tinofanira kungoti guys sezvatiri kuti okay nhasi tiri kuvhura platform yetopic yakati tongoti tese takadaro tomira toti gaga takadaro. Kune mamwe some of the leaders they will be there in those platforms and they just sit down and listening to the contributions. But kana tikabatana kuti okay tinana ningi vari kuplatform yakati neyakati vari kusupport the movement, tikabatana navo toisa ma-DMs kuma-DMs our guys we have got a platform regarding to this and this issue, toti titsanangure tidedemure sezvairi. Tikadaro tikangoita chinonzi kumuono umwe tokomba churu tiri tose, nekuti ndikakomba churu ndiri ndega handikwanise kubudirira, asi tikakomba churu takaungana semhuri imwe chete kuti tirwise churu ichocho tichidhirize chiwire pasi, tinoona tabudisa Zanu PF in a space of a short time. Chiripo ndechekuti isusu tiri kuzvilimita panyaya yekuti ini ndoda kumira ndega, ini ndoda kumira ndega. Smarters anofanira kumira naDiamond, Denford anofanira kumira naMaifa, Jobs anofanira kumira naningi naningi. But izvozvo tikachibvisa kanhu kauni kako tinoona tichienda mberi, nekuda kuti varoyi vedu tiri kuvaziva kuti garai muroyi hazvityisi kuti hanzi muroyi yakabatwa kare. But isu chatiri kutya ndechekuti handikwanisi kumira nanhingi nekuda kwekuti ini ndikazoonekwa ndiri pamberi ndini ndichange ndine dambudziko. Painonzi voters mobilization iripo ndeyekuti strategy yekuti paitwe mobilization iripo. Ndosa muri kuona pakazoitwa inonzi RIP right now is there going door to door because they see most of their campaigns have been blocked. They cannot go through with campaigns. That's why they maintain to come up with a program of called RIP. RIP is there. They are these focused youth. They are going door to door to the youth, urging them, mobilizing them with the facts and the truth in between that. So movement here, it needs our support because vana vechidiki vari kudara mangwana rakanaka, but isusu vakuru tiri kushandisa nyaya yeudhanda hedu yokuti zvakamboitika pai takavhota takabirirwa, saka kuvhota kwatakaita makore mangani tichingoramba chingobirirwa, asa it's better kungosapota Zanu PF yacho. Uri kuona ndopati kuti we lose hope due to something that we can do as a sovereign citizens. Tongobatana tochita chimwe chete kuti vana vedu mayouth edu nesu vacho tongoita chiro one, tove nemuono umwe chete tochidzirisa ichi churu with a space of little months. Tasara nemamadzi mangani mashoma asara. The limitation guys ingoripo panyaya yekuti vakaviga zvakabuda mucensus izvi vari kunyatsoziva kuti ivo nyika ine vanhu vakati varimo nevakati vari kunze. vari kuzviziva kuti vachiibudisa delimitation kuti vangani vakauya vakarejista kuvhota. Inyaya yekuda kubvisa mazita iyawo evanhu vakauya vakarejista kuvhota vachibva kunyika nenyika dzavari. Delimitation is just to remove those names and keep those they know kuti ava ndo vari kuma-cell groups kwavo kwavanenge vachinyorana pasi vachionesana nekuda kuti iyo voters roll vanaro. To be telling you the truth, voters roll vakatopuhwa vanaro. And ndo ravari kushanda naro daily by daily basis, because iyo ndo saka vachiti musangano wakakora kuma-structure kuma-cell levels. Cell level vanotori ne-a very motivated and iri programmed program yavo. Isusu why can CC do the same thing? Voonesana pamwe chete voita mabhuku avo avanogadzira. Guys, ndizvo zvatava izvi. Kana uri kuti uri member yemusangano, member yemusangano hongu, tokuziva wamubhuku wamugwaro, takufamba mberi nebhuku. It doesn't need any other level yekuti atina chinonzi structure. A structure is there. Ndosauri kuona kuti kwana ma-MP kukwekwe kuna MP, kwakanekwati kuna MP, Mwarare muna meya muna MP. Those people, that they are the structure right now. They need to be working with the citizens. Votanga kuonesana vachipinda door to door nemobilization yeripi voona kuti ndo zvatakuita izvi takuenda mberi nenzira iyi tofamba so. Vangani mayouth arimo munharaunda yedu, vangani vasiri kuenda kumabasa, vangani vari kuenda kumabasa, zvipi nezvipi zvikuda kuti zviitwe. Mukaona tikadaro tichishanda se-sovereign tiri chinhu one, tiri unit, takabatana kudaro, churu ichi tatochirwisa. Chiripo nechekuti nguva diki diki yatasara nayo iyi yakuda vanhu vari kuziva zvavari kuita. If there are those leaders who are in between this conversation, batai manoti atinenge tichitaura, zvinhu zvokuti zvinoda kuti zvinge zvichiitwa, nyorai pasi, quote all these things, because vamwe vedu tinenge tichitonyora manoti pasi kuti tione kuti point yapiwa naSmarters, point yapiwa naSister Diamond, point yapiwa namai Maifa naDenford. Ipoint yekuti iri kuda kuti iiswe pasi. Iwewe you're a leader, you go through with that point, take it down, note it down, wakuzoti okay, strategy iripo ndeyekuti ndofana kudaiso, ndakufana kufamba ndakadaiso. Mobilization yatofamba, wakuzoti okay, tane point yakati point B, point D. Iye Aljazeera totoisa paside because chokwadi chese tiri kuchiziva. Vakutotya kudhara nekuda kuti vanozviziva. And Aljazeera who can even drop the bombshell nhasi kana mangwana. Isusu chatiri kuda ndechekuti we have to fight now. Izvi zvese zviri kubuda ma-documentaries and everything, zvinhu zvokuti togara tichitoziva kuti ningi ndianoba. Even justice system yedu yemunyika iri captured. Totarisa kuma-generals edu vari captured because they are in part of that support. Nekuda kuti vari kudya ivo nemhuri yavo.
Right. Mukoma, I'll give you another 1.5 minutes.
Okay, thanks, Denford. Iyane zvikatarisa kuti kuma-youth, tarisai kuti Mugwadi, he's a young man. And right now, ari come up with an agenda yekuti ma-satellite dishes demolish. Zvinhu zvakamboitika kudhara muma-political party akwana Mugabe. Kuma 2000s, 2002, 2003, 2004. Zvinhu zvakatoitika izvi zvekuti vari kuda kuramba vachishanda the same agenda yekuti varwise the citizens from coming up to win their elections. Saka vanoziva kuti vakakundwa kare. Fear yavainayo ndeyekuti ngatibvisei zvatiri kufunga kuti ndo zviri kukwanisa kuti zviri kuita kuti vanhu vachinje pfungwa, tivasiye vari mudarkness, mugross darkness. Saka isu chatiri kuti ngatiitei ma-mobilization, cell groups, tine maphones, ma-WhatsApp, each and everything. Ngatimobilize ngatiuye kuma-DMs. Guys, nhasi tine musangano, nhasi tine agenda yakati, tine topic yedu yakati, tobatana nevakomana. Kune timu rakawanda, muna na-EN, muna na-finals. They are the most motivated people. Mukaenda kuma spaces avo, you see there's a lot of contribution.
Thank you very much, Mukoma Elder. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, because we are restricted, our time is so much restricted, but we appreciate your submission. Dr. Diamond, can you give your parting shot? Ndofunga vari kubika. Mukoma Jobs. Okay.
Yeah, thanks once again. I think we look a lot nekuda kubvuma, what is not really the actual fact. When we look at Zanu PF, don't talk about those cells as if they exist, because there's something funny to say. Even Zanu PF itself knows that those cells they don't exist. That is one of the reasons why they go to chiefs and headmen to say, can you organize for us? Because they don't have all those structures, which they just come here and tell you to say we are structured as party. Do they have it? They don't have the structures which are holding. Even if they do their own congress, they just endorse ED. Then after that, ED will then select members of Politburo without them being voted for. So we have to understand them and not to fear it or whatever. All we need to do probably is to organize on every aspect to say how are we going to defend the vote in different areas. We're not necessarily looking at urban areas, because even if you go to Chivi today or Uchirezi rural today, you'd find out to say they are really fed up more than what we think by Zanu PF. And they are just coming out. The way how we have resolved to say Monzora is not worth to be given any place, or violence is not worth to be used in politically within our community. It is the way how we should just organize to say it's no longer worth it for us to keep Zanu PF near power, not in power, but just near power. Because even if you move right around now in rural areas, they will tell you to say they are not going to tolerate any political violence. And they know what they say, they mean it. That is why last time when it happens, or those ZANU-PF chiefs, they transport some people from different areas to do violence in that area, because they can't localize it anymore, because people have just communicated to say no, it's a no thing. So we need to just tell ourselves to say voting ZANU-PF is a no thing, and get rid of ZANU-PF before we resolve all those issues. Because I don't think there's anybody who is happy about what is being shown by Aljazeera or what is being done by ZANU-PF at the moment, to say that they to save themselves. And then what happens, many people is that they're just they are even prepared to pass that benefit to their own children. You can see the tax commissioners, the ZEC commissioners, like that one, my oldest daughter just become, the moment he became a commissioner, she was already a deputy spokesperson before even serving. Probably for 1 year, she was already a deputy spokesperson, while the others who were there before were not being promoted to that position. So we have to understand those people to say that they are now. We also have to understand even Idi's son, one of the twin who is in the army, to say when did he join the army and what rank is he holding. And if we are not careful, by the end of the 5-year term, you will be the army general. It will be just like what happened in other people, where that Museveni is the head of state, to have him as an army general, or probably one who is commanding, and he can pass over there. He can just take power and give it to his mom. That is why we have those people like ED just saying 2013 and the people, they mean what they mean. They are trying to do whatever they are saying. So if we sit on the terrace and watch them, really, that country will just be ruined by those people who are prepared to bring foreigners to take our wealth and give to foreigners while it's chasing us.
Thank you very much, Mkoma Dobbs, for your parting words. At this time, I will call the nation, then Dr. Diamond, in that order. Thank you, the native son.
Thanks, Dr.
Yeah, thank you. So, Pandapa submission initially that the kind of documentary Abuda, I think the solution, the way forward out of this is not going to be like that people are going to be arrested or anything like that. They're not going to arrest themselves. I said that it was political. So I'm just going to expand a little bit on that, and like what do I mean by that. So I really understand what everyone else is saying, that people need to register to vote and things like that. I think that's important. People should register to vote, but I have a slightly different take. So if you have if you look at all the other previously oppressed, historically oppressed people, say, how did they win their struggles, or how did they, if you look at, say, the Jewish people or African Americans or the thing that they did is that they were able to really articulate their issues, their problems. This is our problem, this is what we are fighting, and they made it really uncomfortable for anyone else to kind of oppose that. So, for example, today, if you say anything against the Jewish people, for example, you're in trouble, because everyone really agrees with they really articulate their position after the Second World War, the Holocaust, and things like that. Now they have a strong position. It's the same with African Americans after the civil rights movement. Now racism was not acceptable at all, and this really came from the African Americans. The issue of racism, it was acceptable everywhere else, but the fight really for really came from here. Even us, black people in Africa, we were able to really articulate that this is the war that we are fighting, and things like that. And there were different ways to fight this. There was music, people wrote books, if you listen to the blues and the souls of the 80s, and you listen to the poetry, listen to the Malcolm X's, read James Baldwin, and also us in Zimbabwe, if you listen, Wana Thomas Mapfumo and things like that. So they were really able to express to articulate their struggle and really look at the world in which they lived, and try to find other movements that were happening, and put and they were able to put their struggle within the context of the world at the time. I think this is what we need to do. We had Samora Machel in other countries. We had people went to Yugoslavia or wherever to fight, because they were able. They made their struggle at the time. They made it relatable to people across the world. All across Africa, right? They made it relatable to them. They made their movement, even per civil rights movement. Most of the leaders, when Miriam Makeba, they lived here, because they had all the Harry Belafonte and all this kind of people. W. Du Bois died in Ghana. There was all this world kind of movement that this is what I think is lacking here. So when you hear, for example, Zanu PF, they come up with the bills and whatever, they try to stifle that so you come back here at home. You don't talk to other people. Come back, let's fight here, because they know that back home they have the judges, they have the shotguns, they have the water cannons, they have the electoral system, they have everything. You can't win here, but this is where they want the struggle. And once you're stifled, the only narrative that comes out, what Ramaphosa hears and whatever, is that it's the sanctions, because they are the ones that are controlling the narrative outside, and Ramaphosa is not going to go against that. So I think that we really need to be able to bring this, and not I think we should also step away from this. Now we say Zimbabweans are educated. Zimbabweans, I haven't seen any musicians. You don't have to be in Zimbabwe to say, okay, if you're in Zimbabwe, you can sing against the government. But there are a lot of other musicians outside the country. Why can't they sing songs? Why can writers write books about what's happening here? So I think we really need to look at ourselves and really, really, really put our struggle out there, so that we can relate to what's happening. It can to what's happening in our world today, and have this kind of movement like what they did, all other people did that fought this kinds of struggles. And also, I just want to highlight that with all these groups that are forming, ED for Mapostory for ED and this for ED, of the reason why they are going, these Mapostories are going towards ED is not ideological. It's just that the what would be my concessions is they're getting this, and if you support us, we let you go here. If you support us, so. This it's a facade. It can go away if you really promise people that what you're getting here, we can do this better. Yeah, it's not ideal. It's like udongoine msikana wako mkomana wako, I mean, anenge ari a bad person or something. You are, we know, if a better person comes, then they'll go. It's a bad example, I know, but that's what I'm trying to say here. It's not ideology. Kind of ideology. They really believe what Mnangagwa is saying and things like that. Then it would need a different sort of approach. But this is just, transactional. You have to sell yourself better in here, and yeah. So this is what I think. This is not what when the documentary comes out. Now we have the evidence of the people. This is what I do. It's not someone else, And this has to be a political. This has to be the where the genesis of the political movement to say, look, this is what's happening, and out there, people, you don't have to be, people out there, and they really, 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 we can't, put the message out there to say this is what's happening in Zimbabwe, and because also sometimes people want to know what they can get from associating with you, so you have to kind of put all these things in context. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my brother. And I think it was me who was going to come after you. Is that right, Dan? Just give me a
Doctor.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And I really wanted to speak after Mkoma Smartest spoke, but yeah, it's okay. Everything that he was saying, Kwandiri, that's action plan. That is what we ought to do, because ngano dzese takadzinzwa. 43 years later, we are still at the same place where we were. Tichingori patanga tiri. So therefore, what needs doing? And I love facts. Smarters is a factual person. Dosaka akamakwa zvekumakwa zvezvia nematanda heads. And we are here to sit bumper to bumper with them when they try to spread their propaganda to make it look like these are facts, or try to make it sound like they are very factual. We got Jeff Panapa, maybe he was a representative of Matanda Head, Awuya, and he even failed to present his propaganda. And when we have people like Smarters coming and letting us know, guys, that's not true. Because what's likely to happen if we don't take note of such people is Kunevamo Vasiri as knowledgeable as me and you. And as much as we may be knowledgeable or Toya Panapama spaces and listen to the Dandahead coming and spraying his propaganda, the likelihood of things is them reaching out to people in the rural areas or even my urban cities and telling them, by the way, this happened, and it becomes gospel. Saka, we cannot allow those Dandaheads to continue, because Pataveri Panapa, where we are in a critical time. We don't have 10 months, we don't have a year, we don't have 2 years. And we have to understand, Kuti, if we don't act right now, if we don't act Patiri Panapa as we are talking, last year we were saying next year in 2023, little did we realize kuti hatina time yekuti timbosora timbotenderera nengano dzisingaperi. What then do we need to do? The way to go ahead is not the only way. One of the ways is for us to be able, like Smarters were saying, numbers, and numbers, please. Yes, in the rural areas, we actually know Kutizo. Most people understand Kutizo. Zanu PF has failed us. Mbuya wako na mbuya wangu, they know this. Vanozviziva echolote kaya lapemvela kona mina vayakwazi lokho. But what then happens is what Zanu PF is good at. Kuenda kunopa, we saw Murume Mkuru, a proper granddad, saying he's appreciative because mwana wevu andirangarira akandipa komichi yesimbi, not even a China cup, no, it was komichi yesimbi, and andipa bare sipo. That is what Zanu PF will do. And obviously we know what then happens in the rural areas. People are frog-marched. When you are voting, there's a CCTV or a camera which is watching you. They end up believing in those things. So what do we do? What do we then do? We have to take advantage of the urban areas that we have. And if I was listening very well to Mkoma Smarters, as I would have supposed with everybody was, you would notice that we've got so much power to accumulate ground, if that's the right word, to accumulate so much ground within my urban areas, such that when we then go in the rural areas, I'm not saying we are right off in the rural areas because we are campaigning big my rural areas. One brother was talking about RIP going out door to door. Yes, there is RIP, there is Mukwazo going on as we are talking right now. And the women are coming out. Anamai Mkwada, there is another program which has sprung up in Onzi Rua of women. We've got our young people who are doing work from this end, if we've got the rural women doing it from the other end, and we are looking forward to men coming up together as men as well, so that together we can then campaign, we can then register to vote, and then we can vote and vote big, because we need the numbers. I can't really, I'm not a numbers person, but when I hear people who know numbers speak, I get so much excited, because if you look at the margin of difference here, presidential votes between Mugabe, between Mnangagwa and President Chamisa, it's not a big one. It's not a big one. So we don't have too much work to do other than that, covering ground in as much as numbers are concerned. So let's register to vote. I know a lot of people are coming through and say, oh, yeah, register to vote is good, but there is no but. Because we are we need to because we have been it's not okay. It's just a snapshot that audio. If we are going to have the underheads come and speak their propaganda and give them an opportunity. People, I can see I just not another 5 years. Elder job say, after 5 years not we are giving you, numbers are going to actually silence you and silence you. If that is Jeff, we are registered to vote and we will vote. Thank you very much for the absolutely brilliant space, and thank you very much. As much as I understood you very well. If you want to hit the bottom, go and corrupt the Msoro. Right now, the whole first family, like I said, they are being implicated. Like, if it's not that, it's that. If it's not that, it's that. We've had all the corruptions, and most of the times you can hear them being implicated. So the Msoro itself, the Msoro is the corrupt, which is then making kuti kwese kuzasi kwacho. We cannot blame Mugwadi kuti Mugwadi has obviously satellite dishes. Why is he advocating for that? This guy who makes noise, this pedophile in South Africa, and not sanctions every single time. Even if you give one of the idiots a river space, Mupe Mike and ask him to answer to the question of the day. Sanctions. Those danda heads, as much as we blame them, but look at the head of the fish, because so I heard you, Thomas Matters, and thank you very much for every single one of us who has come up. I would have wished him Denford to have a few female voices. Maybe for the future, we invite more females, because at the end of the day, imimi mega ndimi muri pa forefront, isusu madzimai tiri kuteera mumashure. We want to be with you, not ahead of you, behind you, but we just want to be parallel with you. Tichifamba tese tichienda. So please, learning point, invite as more women as you can. Thank you very much, Dr. Amaifa and Mkoma Denford. And I yield the mic.
Thank you very much, Dr. Diamond. And because of our time, each of our speakers will round up in at least 2 minutes. Let's go to Dr. Smarters, Dr. Ranga, Sabuk Dobbs, Mkoma Champion, and finally Mkoma Ntaba is back.
Dr. Maifa, can I go ahead? Dr. Smarter seems to be, I'm not sure what's going on.
Oh, go ahead, Doctor.
Okay, he seems to be back. Dr. Smarters, if you
No,
want
go
to go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead, my brother. Go ahead. I was attending to something here.
Sure,
can go
sure,
ahead,
sure.
yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Just wanted to say to everybody, thank you for this great space. Thank you, Dr. Maifa and my brother Denford, for hosting such a very important space for us. We citizens need to keep talking about this. It's great to see, my friends, sisters, Dr. Diamond. I'm very much with you about more female citizen voices. We all need to speak up in one voice. We need to hear people from Zanu PF coming and saying, hey, we can't have corruption in our country. Corruption cannot be right because yaitwa ne councillor with triple C, kana member of parliament with triple C. Corruption is corruption. It destroyed all of us, irrespective. We are paying a huge price because of corruption. That's why our roads are in the mess that they are. And guess what? We risk our lives because we are not fixing our roads. We risk our lives because we are not fixing our hospitals. It comes back to us. We risk our lives because we don't get clean water. I'll tell everyone a story. When I was applying for my disability insurance here in America, they said, how often do you visit Zimbabwe? Oh, maybe every year, maybe every other year, whatever. Because of that knowledge, my insurance premium for disability insurance went up because they said you are a high risk country. And insurance companies do what they need to do to make sure that they charge the right amount of premium for the risk that they are covering you for. And I'm saying that to say we are all paying a price because of the mess in our country. And the moment we realize that as Zimbabweans, whether we support Zanu PF, Yana ED, or whatever, you should be angry when you see my resources that are abused, like what Aljazeera will expose. We already know quite a bit, but the reason why this is different is because when you hear Dr. Rangavari Pafoni vari kuti kuna someone andichatara na president decide this much mu account mangu, Dr. Ranga should be ashamed and should resign. We know a lot is going on. So I'm saying that to say, let's arm ourselves to speak up. And look, speaking up makes a difference. Nobody should tell you that social media is a waste of time. They don't listen. They do listen. If you didn't know, if they are not listening to you, they listen to their friends vanenge vari kuona zviri kuitika online. That's why we have my spaces. For the past week, Nigeria was trending, or Obi was trending. Obi, by the way, is our online president, right? We're Nigeria. But anyway, my point being that the whole world sees what's going on when we speak up. And if we don't speak up, nobody is going to speak up. It's us, the citizens, whether triku Middle East, whether triku UK, whether triku America, whether triku Zimbabwe or South Africa. Look, your voice matters now more than ever. So whenever that comes out, we should say, whoever is named there, please do the honorable thing, resign. We ask as citizens, if we have to say that every minute until they go, let's do that. That's something within our power. We can't just say, they're not going to act. They're not. They will act. And we have seen them acting so many times. I remember there was a question about my passports. It came up and we made a lot of noise online and things changed. So my point is, whenever that happens, let's talk, let's speak up. And we have the power to change this in a few months. And like Dr. Diamond was saying, we need to act now. We used to say, oh, it's a year from now, it's 2 years from now. And I am very, very encouraged by the fact that since the last election, we have been passionate, we have been determined. And let's finish this last 5 months. Let's do it. If you need to register, register. If you need to donate money somewhere, donate money somewhere. Don't make it, ndichazoti mangwana. It's done. 5 months will go before we know it. And we don't want zvataiona kuNigeria zvazoitika. My youths are so disappointed. Ezekiel kuNigeria iri kuita zvairi kuita and stuff like that. We need to have all hands on the deck, not some hands. Everything we can do, let's do today. Don't think you will do it in June, July. This is the time to make our country better. And it starts with us addressing problems as they come. We can't keep saying, tomorrow. So when that report comes, people like me, like you, the same way we made noise about my 40K, 350K, 500K, we need to make 10 times noise to say, you guys resign. You can't be the ones determining how our next election is run. If you are implicated, you need to go. And let's make that noise. Let's make it online. Let's make it uncomfortable. My brother Native, I liked everything you said. You think so much like me. We need to be thinking differently about how to deliver. And I know I've gone past my 2 minutes, so I am just gonna say to you all, thank you. This was a great space. Let's keep talking about this. It's the power is in our hands as citizens. Let's never feel helpless. Let's not feel like look, it makes a difference. And if any Zimbabwean today thinks it's okay to defend the indefensible, shame on you. Because our mothers, our sisters, our brothers are dying today because our country is on its knees because of these guys. And there's no justifiable reason why they should keep looting and why they should stay in power. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Ranga. And because of time, I will this time to the host to give each of 1 minute maybe so that we conclude. Thank you. Over to you, host.
Yeah, thank you very much. Mkoma Ndaba, Mkoma champion, and speak truth. The order like that. Mkoma Ndaba, are you there? Okay, Mkoma champion, go ahead. After which we have speak the truth.
Maita basa zvenyu. Ndabva ndangofunga hangu kambeva, so kachiita mwezha. Kapedza kuita mwezha kana kakadzingirirwa kanomhanya naipapo because panenge pakachena. Izvi zviri kuudzwa munhu wese ari pano anobvuma kuti Zanu PF is corrupt. Saka kana uchibvuma kuti Zanu PF is corrupt, the best way to deal with Zanu PF, whether iwewe unopuhwa mari kana kuti wakapromiswa kamwe kalicense kana kuti kamunda, the best way, which I have learned from Lenin when he was talking about inflation, he said the best way to deal with capitalist money is to debunch it through inflation. So the best way with the Zanu PF is to remove it from power constitutionally by voting all these dandaheads out. Even if you go to RBZ right now, there is a dandahead. You go to the Minister of Finance, it's a dandahead. You go to the President himself, is a dandahead. ASMA dandahead. These are the dandaheads Association of Zimbabwe. So the best way to deal with them is to remove them through voting the right candidate. We will be able to represent you in the best interest. Who is going to respect the principal-agent relationship? Who is going to respect the issue of steward leadership? That is supposed to be seen. We no longer need people, when you tell them what to do, they think of killing you, they think of kidnapping you, they think of silencing you. So I think if we unite each other and become one and speak as one, like one of the theme that we have: one people, one vision, and one thing to be done. Remove ZANU-PF. Whether you like it or yakambokupa mari ayo wasiyana nazvo, haungasweri uchitongwa namadhanda edzi asina chaanoda kuachievha. Anoti iwo anoda kuitwa magame changer at 8 years. Ndio mashura zviwa. Ukaona uri mudhara wapera hauna kana chawakamboita muupenyu, wosanga kuti toda kuita game changer. Game changer yaani? Bvisira kure tsvina iyo. ZANU-PF yakafanana netsvina. It must go. You mustn't be shy. You mustn't be even ashamed. Just to say, ZANU-PF and Mnangagwa, you must go, because you are no longer a true reflection of the real ZANU-PF. Darere chimurenga rana leopard takawira nevamwe vakanga vari kumashure uko. Idzi dzangova mbavha. Revolutionary criminals, revolutionary oligarchies, which are just meant to cause havoc, who just think that transfer of wealth is from them to their sons. So the only best way is to remove this nonsense. Inda unombonoterera imwe video yakaitwa naMalema wakati, to those who are in diaspora, when you go home and remove this nonsense called ZANU-PF. When you are here in diaspora, it's your home. But when you go home, remove that nonsense. ZANU-PF is nonsense. If you see anyone supporting ZANU-PF, achitofarira kusapota mbavha, ziva kuti idhanda head nairo. Saka dhanda head harigoni kutungamirira rimwe dhanda head rinowira mugomba. Thank you.
Right. And chitaura mukoma Ndaba.
Oh,
Mukoma Ndaba must be asleep now. Mukoma Smartest, go ahead.
oh, sorry. It was me, Mkoma Denford.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead. I respect it. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm glad you're having this space where people are talking about unity, because I think it's about time we united on these spaces as well. I liked what Elder said before, to say that we now need to come together more than what we have been on these spaces, because yes, we are the ones who are in the diaspora, and we need to now coordinate and ensure that we utilize these spaces to bring everybody who wants a better Zimbabwe to come together. We cannot carry on fighting with people that we fought with from before. I think we need to just bring, for the common cause and the good of the country, all the Zimbabweans together and try and establish a common goal. After my elections, let's do that. But for now, let's just unite and focus, right? So I go on the fundraising spaces. Some of these the kids that are trying to fundraise NERIP and stuff like that, Snengen and Amako, and others, and I donate when I can. And I think the sad part of it is, Kuti, like whenever the spaces happen, you don't know that they're happening. They just happen, and there are less numbers on those spaces, right? I think there is a tactic that happens whereby when something is announced that something is going to happen, other people open other spaces so that we don't coordinate and come to unity of purpose, one space where we need to get solutions to our problems. It's happening on these spaces. And I speak a lot to Mkoma Finals, and he said that he's prepared to say, like, look guys, we can come together, bring the numbers together, even if it means like we say we are going to suspend, we're not going to talk about this topic between this time and this time, and we know what's happening at that time, and then we advertise on all our spaces and our pages so that we get the maximum input that we can from these spaces. We now need to start doing this. It's important that we put aside our small differences and work together as Zimbabweans, because what we want is, I think, the same goal, right? So I think this is critical to maximize these spaces. I am glad a lot of people have spoke about that on these spaces, and I hope we can get together and get this across to everyone who believes that Zimbabwe can be better and believes in a Zimbabwe where everyone can contribute, right? So like I said, let's unblock those who we differ with slightly. We can block those that are dunderheads, but the ones that we slightly differ on the trajectory, they've got something to contribute. We cannot stay in echo chambers where we are just listening to the same ideas all the time. We need to open up and actually take notes when some of these things happen. And I know most of the speakers in here, I've seen you guys on platforms I follow, and we follow each other. And yes, this is what we need. We need to form that community online. That is strength, okay? And then diasporans, like if you can't go home to register to vote, or if you can't go home to vote, get in these spaces where these kids are campaigning and looking for support for the campaigning. Go and put in £5, whatever it is, $5, $10, whatever you can. Just support them so that they keep the momentum going. We can see the work that they're doing on the ground, which is commendable when young people take the initiative, but they're going to need the sources and the funds. So we need to support them as much as we can. Okay. Yes, people will come on these spaces and say, oh, everyone who's on this space is in diaspora and they're not going to vote, so their voice doesn't matter. If my voice didn't matter, why are you here 24/7 hounding us on social media and trying to discourage us and trying to put us off? We have power, people. We have power because we have the voices. We can produce material to push the narrative and change the narrative, right? So we need to utilize this effectively and use that in a powerful way. So for me, going to the topic as I sum up, Zanu-PF versus Aljazeera, should Zimbabweans be shocked? Guys, I don't think the documentary is a shock. But one thing I know what the documentary has done is thrown a cat amongst the pigeons, right? So it's made me realize that I used to think, right, Zanu-PF and the government does not fear the people. The panic, Yevarakashi, this week has shown me that, you know what, they are afraid of the people. They are afraid of the masses. So you have the power. The work that they've been doing, sleepless nights on these spaces, trying to counteract the narrative, is evidence that we are still the masses, right? We are still the majority. And they know when this comes up, it's not going to shock us, but it will put faces behind the money. It will have people confessing in real time what they do with our money and our resources. And if that's not treasonous in its nature, I don't know what is, because they have stolen generational country worth of wealth, and it's been shipped into personal bank accounts that we need to claw back every single dollar. So I say, keep the way you're going. We listen, we're taking notes, we are learning every day. We've got some very able people in these spaces. We've got some very smart people, but we now need to start listening to solutions. We now need to start acting on those solutions, and we now need to start pushing so that we can get to the final line, which is us being able to say, you know what, we have a Zimbabwe, right, where a kid from Lotito can dream to become the president of Zimbabwe once again, and a grandma from Lotito can not wait for a bar of soap or a komichi every 5 years and say, Mwanangu, thank you, wearing previous campaign 5 years campaign t-shirts. That needs to stop now. And I think we have the momentum, we have the people, we have the brains, we have to utilize them, and we have to be active all the time. Thank you very much. And I land there. Thank you for your time.
Oh, Thank you, host and co-host, Dr. Malfa. During the early days of our liberation struggle, Nkomo stated that if the economy is the problem, we'll go ahead and destroy industries. If the system is the problem, we are here to dismantle that system. Translating to our present situation, the problem is corruption in the system. So let's stand up and dismantle the system in order for corruption to go away. Coming back to the question, are we surprised by this Aljazeera Zanu PF thing? Yes, we are shocked. Personally, I'm shocked because I expected to get the news from our interim leadership as promised by Zanu PF cadres here. But it's unfortunate that we have received this documentary prior to the news that were promised. Of course, we are not shocked, as we know that they are thieves. We still need them to come forward with the new notes they promised, so that we see which one carries more weight between notes and corruption. ZANU-PF has taken Zimbabweans for granted for too long. It's up to us, as the previous speaker has said, that let's stand up, fight this system to dismantle it. If possible, after coming to power, let's ban it. This system has made people lose hope in the political space. We see voter apathy. People have seen, have ended up taking elections as useless because of what ZANU-PF is doing. If ever there was going to be a second liberation struggle, people would not go to war, taking a cue from what ZANU-PF is doing. People think that ZANU-PF went to war to liberate us so that they loot. That was not the cause for the liberation struggle. So let's do away with this system. By all means, we can. I make a disclaimer myself because at times I lose temper when I hear people hallucinating. If you say people are poor back home, systems are not functioning, you hear people as if they are from Mars, talking from the comfort of their zones. Things are working in Zimbabwe. It's only the lazy people, the undocumented people in South Africa and UK are the ones making noise. What nonsense is that? Time has come, ladies and gentlemen, here. Let's amplify this noise and support the struggle materially and financially, and even brain-wise. Our noises we make go back to the corridors of power in Zimbabwe. They hear what we are saying, and we are not ashamed to shame them. The patriotic bill is to put us here, but I think the first people to be put in jail will be those who worked with Al Jazeera journalists, because if ever to ZANU-PF is a sin, they are the most people who committed a serious crime than us. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mandava, for your parting shots. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in and for giving powerful submissions. I want to encourage everyone to keep coming together because we have had the issue of unity being repeated by several speakers. So let's unite and make Zimbabwe a better place for all of us. And let's keep going to pray for Zimbabwe at 7:30 UK time, which is 1:30 1:30 Eastern time. Let's go and pray for Zimbabwe. Over to you, Nkoma Denford.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maifa. Thank you very much as well to our contributors, speakers who came for the show. The listeners, we thank you very much for coming. We have had people from different political origins. This is a Zimbabwean program where we always take divergence views, but I would want to clearly say that we deliberately had to drop one of the speakers. Why? Because we realized that his intention was not to bring a contribution that can help us. So definitely, if somebody does come and bring about their intentions here, we are not going to be accepting that. So we just want to go ahead and say, this is the program. Speak Truth, thank you very much. Elder, thank you very much for bringing about the subject of saying it's supposed to be a collective thing. We are in a war zone. We need to come together. When we are doing all these programs, we need to support each other. If Denford and Dr. Maifa have realized that Mkuma Champion is having their program in their space program, definitely if I'm doing that, I've got to make sure that I liaise with Mkuma Champion and drop my show or him Mkuma Champion, depending on circumstances. And then it means things will come right. Unfortunately, what has been happening is people haven't been communicating, possibly deliberately or not having a proper communication. But if we do communicate, then we will realize that our objective is to make sure that the information goes to everybody. As I am saying this, I would want to implore everybody who is in this platform to say, this is only a Twitter space that we are having here. Our show, it has got a name, Reshaping Zimbabwe. We deliberately made it to be listened to by people on Facebook, to be listened to by the people on Change Radio, to be listened to by the people on YouTube. The objective being to make sure that the message goes to the broader society in order for us to come to the election that we are going to. So thank you very much, everybody. And can we all inform everybody about this program and any other program that progressive Zimbabweans are trying to bring information to people. Thank you.
$1 billion money laundering operation. The gold mafia is bigger than the government, with financial institutions, regulators, and governments complicit. Zimbabwe is open for business. It is as right as the strike now. In a 4-part series, Aljazeera's investigative unit goes undercover in southern Africa.
We control 90% of this government.
Once it's refined, it's practically brand new gold. Coming soon on Al Jazeera.
I do roughly about $70-80 million every month.
I do 200 kilos a week.
20 to 50 million a week.
An exclusive Al Jazeera investigation. Turn dirty money into African gold.
I went to jail for gold when I was 21.
I do roughly about $70-80 million every month.
I do 200 kilos a week.
20 to 50 million a week.
An exclusive Al Jazeera investigation.
There is a hell of a big opportunity to wash money here.
Ati hili loza kaunzanyika nefuti chinounzanyika nefuti Zanu from Zimbabwe.
We are very worried that the citizens' movement by the criminal abuse of the cause by Zanu PF for the minister of justice. The crime
Zimbabwe undizo wapuma kwa mutoko wapuma kariba wapuma umula wapuma uzaka wapuma ikita wapuma utichamiso imari achatotungamira Zimbabwe Bashami wese wapuma Kuchichamisa imari Achatotungamira Zimbabwe Dare takara Diaspora yapuma Kuchichamisa imari Achatotungamira Zimbabwe Dare takara Munoro fenika inoza kuma Kuchichamisa imari Achatotungamira Zimbabwe Dare takara Ndirozi dzekudeka dzapfuma Kuchichamisa imari Achatotungamira Zimbabwe Achatotungamira Zimbabwe Chamisa imari Chamisa imari Iye chamisa imari Achatotungamira Zimbabwe Chamisa imari Chamisa imari Iye chamisa imari Achatotungamira Zimbabwe